and the war, the legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest, the cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Trembling in the haze with the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. The world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Mother Nature is harsh in its realities. It's tyrannical in its judgments and constraints. It limits us greatly. Through the history of our species, Mother Nature has not been very benevolent to us. We had to fight. We have had to fight tooth and nail against the harsh realities of Mother Nature. Hence, modernity, the Enlightenment, the modern political project, the scientific revolution has largely been about pushing back on Mother Nature in order to make space for freedom and equality and human agency, an assertion of human dominance on our cold mother, Mother Nature. However, to quote Thomas Sowell, as we know, there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. Hence, it will be foolhardy to embark upon this project of dominance of Mother Nature, pushing back of Mother Nature, asserting the freedom and equality without understanding the nature of the experiment we're embarking upon, understanding the consequences, the trade-offs that we are making. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aiko Gamin, and I am your host on this channel. And over here, we talk about being better and doing better with a strong emphasis on doing. And what are we doing today? Today, we are exploring the tensions between nature and modernity. We're exploring the tensions between nature and modernity through the lens of the modern woman. And we have joining us to have this conversation someone who needs no introduction out here, a talented content creator, YouTuber extraordinaire, Jessica X in the building. How are you doing, Jessica?
I am doing good. It's good to be here.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And let me go ahead and acknowledge the super chats over here. We have Red Sings the Blues already dropping the $5 super chat. Says, one for the tip jar. I'll listen while working on the podcast behind the scenes. Shout out to you. We also have Jessica X already dropping the British pounds, the pound sterling. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much for the $4.99. And we have the Vulcanus. Salute Ike and Jessica X. So let's just get right into this. You heard my preamble. You heard the premise of this. Let me just ask the basic question. Do you agree with the premise that there is indeed a tension between modernity and nature?
I do. I do believe that. I believe that modernity, as you put it, is it's the opposite of nature. It's the opposite of, so for women and what, the modern world is pushing on us is the opposite of what Mother Nature and biology has instilled in us. So
Hmm.
there's definitely a clash between the two.
Excellent. And what are the ways in which, in your experience, this tension manifests itself in the lives, the choices, the roles, the self-image, and the expectations? How does this clash manifest itself in your experience? And also, you can generalize as well. How do you see that as a woman?
Well, it's the sense that if you display traditionally or natural female qualities, that it makes you weak. It makes you weak as a woman. And so in today's day and age, it's almost seen as weak to want to care about someone. It's seen as weak to want to focus on family and being a mother. In fact, that's one thing that is particularly shamed, mother shaming. So,
Hmm.
you know, put it this way, if you were to sit there as a woman speaking with your friends and they say, what are your career goals? What do you want to do with your life? If a woman simply sits there and says, well, I want to be a mother, that's my dream, to be a mother, to stay at home, raise my kids, everyone's going to look around at her and be like, what? You want to be a mum? You don't have career goals? You don't want to make it to the top of, the career
Hmm.
ladder? Um, so that's something that's traditionally associated with men because biologically they're hardwired for that, right? But now it's something that's pushed upon women. And if you want the opposite, if you do want a family and you're happy with that, you're shamed for that. So that's,
Hmm.
a big example that a lot of women will probably relate to, sorry. And just think about how goals have changed from maybe 50 years ago to today. We're all about career, we're all about making money, we're all about climbing the corporate ladder, and anything that men can do, we can do it better. That's the philosophy that's out there right now.
Hmm. What is your sense as to the? Okay, let me premise this way or phrase it this way. Put a little context here. You may have seen that experiment whereby there. I think the scenario is this: there is a room, right? People are sitting in there, and there's one plant, one person who's in on the act. There's a bell that goes off, and this person stands up, right? Anytime that bell goes up, and then more people see this person standing up when the bell goes up, they start standing up as well. Up to the point where the initial person whom is the plant who was in on the act, actually leaves the room. And however, whenever the bell goes off, rings, people still keep on standing up. So I say that because what is your
notion, your sense, if you will, no, not notion, what is your sense as to the actual beliefs of the people, right, that are shaming versus this kind of, well, I should be shaming because I don't want to be shamed because somehow, in other words, is there anybody in that room that you may, let's this hypothetical room of this woman saying that they want to be a mother? Is there anyone who actually believes, oh no, you shouldn't do that? Or are they kind of just doing that? Well, the bell has gone up and now I have to stand up even though I have no idea what I'm talking about. What is your sense as to that particular reality?
Do you know what? I say at one point in time, so initially it would have been, I'm simply saying that's the wrong thing to do because others are saying it's the wrong thing to do. But we're at the point in time now where I've grown up with this. People my age and below, we've grown up with this. So in a lot of people's brains, it's almost as though this is normal. This is the right thing to do. You're not just doing it because somebody else is shaming it. You're doing it because you genuinely think that's what you're meant to do.
Okay, so you've grown up in this milieu, and one of the organs by which this particular, shall I say, the modern narrative is propagated, it's propagated in the education system, right? It trickles down through politics and also media and then marketing. We'll leave marketing out right now because they tend to be more exploiters and they tend not to be agenda drivers, right? They're more, okay, what's going on? What's the narrative? Let's double down on that and let's push that so we can sell your products. But the education aspect tends to be where there tends to be more of an agency for pushing a particular narrative, right? And then trickles through, as I said, politics and so on and so forth, right? So broad strokes, generally the recasting of things that are considered natural into the mold of calling them social constructions, if you will, right? That's the general kind of idea of this kind of, liberal arts, modern day sociology, so on and so forth. So let me just ask, what is your educational background, and did you have to drink from the fire hose of this kind of indoctrination and the kind of indoctrination that I just described? What is your educational background, if you will, if you don't mind sharing?
So I do have a degree. I have a degree in business and finance. I'd say it's not necessarily something that was pushed through the education system, but more culturally. So man or woman, in my household anyway, we were pushed to have a respectable career. We were all pushed that way. You want to be successful. It's the whole, I don't want to call it Nigerian stereotype, but you want your child to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, something, something that you can brag to other people about and something that can give you respect within the community. So that was pushed on me. Initially, I didn't want to, but it was my ex who convinced me to go to university because he said, listen, you're really smart. You're one of the smartest people I know. I want you to have, like, you can do this, you can do it. There's no point wasting the, I don't know, I suppose, gift that you have. So I pursued education for that reason.
I see.
However, okay, sorry.
No, no, go ahead. I was just agreeing. Go on.
Okay. I will say that in school, there was a switch at a certain point in time. So initially, when I went in my younger years in secondary school, the girls would do D&T, which is design and technology, and the guys would do, I think it was like craft, like woodcraft or something. So they were using all of the, mechanical machines, and they were making things out of carpentry, basically. They were making things out of wood, and we were up there doing tie dye and making, just like pretty little things that girls enjoy. And that was taken away. That was taken away. So my third year into secondary school, that was taken away because it was seen as slightly sexist because boys might want to do D&T and girls might want to do carpentry. So they combined the two things and made it, an all in one. So that's just an example of how the education system is also, just wiping out the concept of gender roles.
100%. Gotcha. So by the time you got in the game, in the education game, it has already trickled down from all the people whom were writing in the. Now, the modern political project is old, right? All the way from the Enlightenment, certain of these things have been coming down the pike. But if you talk about more recent times, some of the more recent writers, let's say in the 60s, 70s, and so on and so forth, whom were pushing this kind of a let's talk about social construction. How could you say what is male nature, what's female nature? Maybe the boys want to wear, play, with pink, dolls and such and so on and so forth. But by the time you got in there, the thing that's already trickled down so far as to be now in the high school programs and so on and so forth. So you don't even need to go to a sociology class for them to pound it into your head. It's already all around you, right? That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, it's already been instilled now. Everything's in place. The wheels were set in motion probably a couple of decades ago, and today everything is in place and ticking along as it should do.
I see. Now, what do you think about this particular formulation? Right? If I were to say that feminism is a worship of masculinity and a denigration of feminine nature, which is, that, well, women give up all that, as you put it, that mother nurturing side of you. And it is a constraint on you, yes, but it's not a constraint by nature. It's a constraint. It is a social construction, and it is the men that put that constraint on you. And as a matter of fact, this other thing over here called masculinity, that's where all the fun is. They're hiding the fun in the cubicles and in the work. The job lines. That's where all the fun is. You should go out there and you should do that. Go, find your happiness in the cubicle. So again, the construction will simply say that feminism really is a worship of masculinity, and that everything feminine is bad, but everything masculine tends to be good. What are your thoughts about that kind of a formulation, right?
I'd agree with that. Feminism is essentially the worship of masculinity and the quest to become masculine, because everything that is associated with modern day feminism is teaching women how to be more like men and how to compete with men. That's what it's about. It's about being as strong as you can be. Okay, strong is something that's a male quality. That's a male quality. I'm perfectly fine with not being seen as, this strong butch woman. In fact, I don't want that. But that's what women are seeking. They want to be strong. They want to be independent, and most importantly, they want power. Men are associated with power, and they're seen as gaining power through their social roles, whether that be, your position in the community, where you are in your career. That's power. And so women are and, financial power as well. So women are chasing those forms of what they see as power in order to make their way up that social ladder and be in the hierarchy. So women are chasing power that they feel like men have.
But they still want to go chase men whom have power as well.
Right. It's the whole notion of they want to be, the power couple. That's what they want. So they want to be, forgive my language, the bad bee with the successful man on their arm. That's what they're looking for. But I think they don't realize that there is power in the woman's natural role. That's what they're forgetting. They had a power in that. And I always say one of women's biggest powers is her femininity. Trust me, as a woman, you're going to get a lot further in life by being feminine than you are being masculine. A lot further.
Yes, it is 100% clear to me as a man, because if you come to me, if I've completely 100% now accept you that you, this hypothetical person, is coming to me as a man, right? Even though they're a woman, right? They're coming to me as a man and they want to compete. They want to try to force something out of me, right? I'm not going to make it easy for them. I'm not just going to give in, okay? It's going to be tough, okay? And I'm a very competitive and, dare I say, competent person. So I'm not going to make it easy for you. But I do know, and men know this, that we will soften up. We will acquiesce and do all kinds of things for a feminine woman, right? Yeah, so it's rather strange. Let me go ahead and check out some of these super chats
That's
before they completely escape me. And then it seems like you wanted to add something. I'll let you go after I just read this. Coach Ali's Connor, $50. That puts you in the sponsorship category, ladies and gentlemen. Coach Ali showing out today. He said, just a little weekend tricking. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, 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 yes. I like it. I like it. And D Rock Den, 499. 499. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. And we also have another one over here. Oh, we have quite a few. We have Counselor Murray also says salute. Thank you very much for the 499 super chat. Thank you guys for coming out. And I believe I just saw another one from Alton Prayer, $20, which also puts you in the sponsor, okay? Sponsor category. Alton Prayer and Coach Ali sponsoring us today. Okay. He says, enjoying the show. Shout out to both of you for your contributions to the manosphere. Yes. And by the way, I just want to acknowledge the thing you said about the whole Nigerian thing. Yes, 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 yes. I am a fellow Nigerian. This thing is pushed. The economics is pushed very hard. There tends to be, however, a forgetting of the traditional aspects of things because we just, have economics in our minds. But go ahead. It seemed like you wanted to add something vis-a-vis that whole, the feminine, I tend to put it as it's like a flame next to a wax, and it can melt the wax away. And however, women want to go and take an axe or a machete and just try to chop the wax away, which is more of a masculine kind of thing. And it tends not to work. You'll get a lot of pushback. You're not going to have it easy. It's not going to be easy for you. And you cannot play both sides of the coin. It seemed like you wanted to add something. Did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to carry on from what you were saying, and we were just speaking about how women are trying to compete with men. That right there is a masculine quality when you're trying to compete with another man. Men are competers with each other, right? And so what happens then is that what do men do when competition is around? Their back goes up, they get a bit more aggressive, they get a bit more, hard. Men crush competition. That's their goal. Their goal is to crush the competition and rise to the top. That's why when you see that man on man dynamic, it can get aggressive, it can get a bit heated. Men crush competition. If you don't want a man to crush you, do not try and compete with him. Do not try to be masculine. When it comes to femininity, men, as you say, they soften up a bit. You get the opposite effect. They can warm to you because that's the natural counterpart that makes them soften up. You don't want, like I said, ultimately men crush competition. You don't want to be your man's competition.
And how, given the fact that you mentioned, okay, you're coming up, you are already steeped in the soup, right? And it's not the case that, unlike some other people, they had to go and learn this stuff in college, right? They have some liberal arts degree. They take literature, sociology, so on and so forth, and there's a certain kind of idea pushed. There is a cultural determinism, the denigration of biological determinism, everything is a social contract, so on and so forth. It tends to be more of an intellectual exercise. It trickles through politics and so on and so forth. But some people have already, the soup is already made and they just came up in the soup. Now, what would you say how can they go and find their femininity? Presumably, they're accepting nature, right? Because again, modernity tends to push against nature, but we know that there's no free lunch, and we know that just because you're pushing back on something doesn't mean it's not real, right? So, how would you say they can go about, becoming that flame that melts the wax as opposed to picking up a machete?
It's a hard one, right? Especially when you've been so conditioned. But one thing I'll always tell women is to listen to that inner instinct, because as much as society can condition you, and as you say, you have all of these social constructs, one thing that it's a lot harder to actually change is that your natural biological makeup. And so I'm going to tell women, I know a lot of women are not happy competing. Women are not happy. Women are chasing these things because they feel like it's what they should do. but inside of themselves, they're still not happy. They're not able to get the thing that they really want, which is, a loving companionship, right? We always say men don't care too much about love, but as a woman, you're all about that. You're all about love, and you're all about getting that connection with a man. And so, as much as you're chasing all of those things, inside you're still longing for that connection. And you can lie to yourself and say, no, I'm happy with my career. I'm happy chasing my career. No, you're not. No, you're not. At nighttime, you're still lonely. When you're not
Okay.
around,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was going to say, when you're not around your friends, you get home, nobody's there, you put on Netflix, you crack open a bottle of wine. That's when the real feelings start to come out, and society isn't bombarding you with the message. And that's where you become your natural self. You get
Okay.
time to just sit in nature.
100%. So, what I want to say here, and I have something over there on screen, okay? And someone mentioned that, I believe it's Ray Alexander, says, lots of men appreciate a well-educated woman as long as she's feminine and nice to be around. And this is something that I find to be like obvious. Like, like, not to use, well, let me use myself as an example. Anyone who's listening to this channel. And by the way, to those whom are new, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and hit all, okay? Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Maybe I should make a song about that I can play. I'll just put on my roadcaster. Boop, like, subscribe, bell button, all. Okay, so basically, if you watch my channel, okay, and you kind of get my personality and see, kind of see how I roll, would you expect that do you think that I will be put off by an intelligent, well-educated woman? It's in other words, what I'm saying is this kind of a dichotomy thing where it's like, oh, it has to be this or it's that. Is never the case. However, there's always a hierarchy. In other words, okay, will I take an educated woman who is not feminine over, you get the picture, right? No, femininity is the number one thing. Cooperation is the number one thing for a man, right? So it's not a question of not being able to do both, or as a matter, especially if you are someone like me, again, the philosopher artist type. Of course, I want a counterpart that can at least roll in that direction, okay? But I don't see why it has to be. Someone says, as a man. Oh, yeah, that's always funny. But it's not the case that it always has to be this false dichotomy that is created, okay? And the thing about formal education is this. You don't have to, it's something that you can always get, okay? And it does not have to be even formal, quote unquote. An intelligent woman, okay, can continue to develop herself, because I look at education as a lifelong endeavor. As I said, I am that philosopher type. Okay, there is no end to it. I did not get educated at Cal Poly Pomona. That's not where I got educated. I've been getting educated ever since I knew I was a conscious being, and I will continue to be getting educated for the rest of my life. So the idea that, oh, well, no, I have to do this and then I get this college degree and then this career and this kind of a thing, and okay, it's one or the other. It's like, no, that's kind of silly. You can be feminine and continue to be educated, and you will be very appealing to many, many, many men out there. But if you have to give them a choice, okay, what is higher up on the hierarchy is femininity, right? That, from my own personal perspective, and I think that it makes sense. I don't know, did you have anything to say about that, about this, what I consider to be a false dichotomy, in the sense that, and also it's a question of arrangement of your life. I don't want to get too into it to start giving kind of a practical advice or something like that. But what do you have to say about that?
And it's not that men don't value education. I just spoke about how primarily it was my dad and my ex who pushed me and pursued me to further my education. So it's obviously a quality that he admired, but you have to look at it like this. Your education and your intelligence is the cherry on top of the cake. It's the icing, it's sweet. It makes you stand out. However, you need the basics there, which is the femininity, the cooperation. Those are non negotiables for most men. So, first and foremost, the femininity, right? And, the looks, the cooperation. And then education is something that's a bonus that you can throw in there. So it's not that men just want an airhead or they don't care about intelligent women. Men can like that. However, femininity comes first. That's what
One, yeah,
I
and
don't seem to get. Because,
yeah,
oh, my bad, sorry.
how do you think, or where do you think this other message is coming from? Because I don't understand. Well, I there are certain personalities, okay, that have a way of being able to put things in very neat categories. Okay, they like a lot of order. They tend to be engineer types. Someone like me, for example. So for someone like me, it's always obvious that, okay, here's this piece, here's this other piece. They don't have to be necessarily opposed to each other. If you can, they can be complementary, if you will. They can be the icing on the cake, if you will. Where are people getting this notion that you cannot both have icing and the cake? That it's people are looking for, or that they're denigrating education, or they want some airhead or something like that. Where is that coming from?
I think some of it they hear. There are some men, I've heard it, who say they don't care about education at all. They don't care if you're a bimbo, like an airhead, or, you're a NASA scientist. They don't care either way. So I think partially it's that. But also, I think women are looking at qualities that they admire in men, or qualities that men are seeking to pursue themselves. A lot of men are seeking to make themselves more intelligent. And so it's like, okay, if he's seeking that out for himself, it's a quality that he admires. So I should try and be that too. So that's why you have the women who are trying to be the most intelligent, trying to have the best career, because they think men want that in themselves, so they'd want it in me. But he's a man, you're a woman, he's pursuing that himself. He wants something to complement him. So he's already getting those things. Are you going to bring an energy that complements those things? So I think that's where it comes from. They're thinking men obviously appreciate that. That's why they're chasing it. So I should try and be that. And also, I think for some women, it's if I don't have the looks, or I don't have, things that men might seek, I'm going to pursue education as a way to bump me up the totem pole, so to say.
Yeah, that is one of those tragic situations, because what then tends to happen is, as if you don't have the looks, okay, and then you're trying to use this other thing to bump yourself up, you're just gonna be raising your price, okay, but sorry to say, not necessarily raising your value in one of the first areas for which the selection process tends to happen, right? So now you are up there in price, but still you have all these other people there that have the looks that you were trying to, outmaneuver. So generally speaking, in that particular regard, I would say get the man early. Okay, get the man early, get him in college, you guys build together, that kind of a thing. Because I think that if you are interested in marriage, right, long-term relationship of that sort, the education thing can always come later. And that's why I say education is a lifelong endeavor. People should not look at it as, oh, well, education happens in college. It's like, no. Intelligence, education, resourcefulness, industriousness, so on and so forth is a lifelong endeavor. However, there is one that has a time limit on it, okay? And it's not the education that has a time limit on it, right? It's the the youth, the fertility, and so on and so forth. The education one, you can always do that. And also, it is a lifelong thing. I try to push over here the philosophical notion of education, not this kind of a formal piece of paper type of education. Education is about the grooming of a human being through the entire life, right? It's about acculturation. It's not some kind of weird, I got to get this piece of paper first. That, as a matter of fact, it's not wise at all. But if moving down this particular path, okay, it is a fact that there will be individuals, okay, whom deviate far from the norm. Okay, let's say, for example, more masculine women or more feminine men, right? And academia tends to be the place where people, that milieu tends to be the place where people go and mount a counterattack at the dominant culture, mount an attack against the norm because, hey, I am different. I am a masculine woman. Therefore, I'm going to throw stones. I'm going to assail the entire traditional project and say, you know what? It's all a social construct, which I think is a very selfish thing. It's to be about me, me, me. You know for a fact that you are outside the norm. Why do you go ahead and try to take down the whole thing? But are there any aspects of your personality that fall outside the norm, the tradition? Any parts of the doctrine of equity, right? Intersectional sisterhood, or that appeal to you, that you can co-sign with? Because some individuals fall outside the norm. Okay, I fall outside the norm in many of these areas. But this is not about me. Are there any aspects of your personality that falls outside the norm such that you would, in a psychological way, even though not in an intellectual way, kind of be able to commiserate with those whom feel themselves to be outsiders?
Um, I'd say I can be competitive. I do have a competitive nature in me. If I do something, I want it to be the best. I like to win and I want it to be perfect. So I have a competitive nature within me, but that's something that I keep for the outside world and my other pursuits. And you don't bring that to your house. Or if you are competitive, right? I'll be like, okay, Sally down the road, she does this for her man. She does all of this stuff. I need to make sure I'm going one step better. And that way I can still indulge my competitive nature, but I'm indulging it in a way that can benefit whoever I'm with and it doesn't clash with him. So I can be competitive, and that also, would that would reflect itself in my work life. If I'm doing something, like I said, I want to be the best I can possibly be at it. I want to be successful. So again, I can be career driven, okay, so I'm in an area that could be typically masculine, right? A masculine field. Far majority of the people that I work with are men. But one thing that I've realized is that in that role where I'm around so many men, my femininity gets me further than masculinity. When you're around those places and there it's it's all that masculine energy, my femininity helps me there because it stands out from everyone else. So you can still indulge those areas that may not be typically feminine in a almost feminine way. So there's a way that you can counteract those qualities.
I see. So embrace your femininity. Don't look at it, and I'm on the other side now. I'm not a woman, but as a human being, we all have certain intuitions and understanding. We share more we have more in common. The average man and the average woman have more in common than not, right? But it's that slight deviation in the mean that pronounces itself more on the tails of the spectrum that makes things important. Not to make this kind of a statistical kind of analysis class. However, you're saying embrace your femininity, and the reason why some might not is because they may see it as some kind of a trick. It is not legitimate. Again, to that whole kind of denigration of femininity. I have to do this thing in a masculine way, right? I have to get my way in a masculine way for it to be legitimate, right? I don't want to be seen as manipulating people. They're just kind of switching femininity for manipulation. It would seem to me, right? Does that ring true? That is a bit because there's one aspect of the pushback, which is it may come from people who may seem, by people I mean women, who may seem themselves as not having certain feminine wiles, whether it may be in terms of attractiveness and so on and so forth. So they may be like, that Jessica X or Sandy or whomever, they're always getting away with stuff by doing this, that, or the other and manipulating the men. But there's another aspect that may be from somebody whom can do that, but they feel like it's a little dirty. Does that ring true to you?
Okay, so even if we just use the example that I gave where, they're saying, well, you're a woman and you're in a male dominated environment and you're using your femininity, that's wrong. Some people may perceive it that way. One, you have to look at it in that it's not harmful. It's not harmful. So you see, I feel like manipulative tends to be something that is to your benefit. You're looking to you're seeking something that is to your benefit, but somebody else's detriment. In that example, it is to my benefit to embrace my femininity, but it's not to anybody else's detriment. So that's the difference. So I wouldn't see it as masculine. And you also spoke about how women feel like, well, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it the right way, which is the masculine way. So a lot of women would come into the environment that I'm in and see all of these men and think, okay, I've got to compete. I've got to do what they're doing. And they start becoming masculine and they don't even realize it. They start becoming very dominant, very overbearing. They're just, and they wouldn't even realize the transition. They don't realize how their character is changing, but they feel like they have to do what the men are doing in order to be doing it correctly. And I'm like, no, you can still, be feminine even in a masculine environment.
I see, I see, I see. Let me read some super chats here. Okay. We have Bozawan, $50. Damn. Okay. Another sponsor of the show today coming through, coming through, coming through. And again, for those of you whom are new to this channel, again, this is Ike Ogiamin's channel. I am your host. Over here, we talk about being better and doing better. We keep things simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive, right? Simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive. We are open over here, okay? We keep things on the philosophical plane. And who else is over here super chatting? I see quite a few. Dr. Thunder, the guy with whom I will be having a monthly show, okay? A monthly show. He is, let me see here. He dropped a $5 super chat. He says, great conversation as usual. Hello, Jessica X. So there will be a show coming out calling we're calling it Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. The first will be next week and we'll be doing it monthly. We'll be sharing ideas about how to get ish done. And the first episode we be on sloth, okay? Sloth, laziness, one of the 7 deadly sins. How does it manifest itself in your life, and how do we, because we all have to face it, okay? How do we get over it? I over here preach, work 16-hour days, always do. How do I? What are some of my techniques of getting over this thing? Because trust me, I have to get over it as well, just like everybody else. And we have Black Knight, okay? The Black Knight Fool in the house says, Canadian $2, okay? He says, I've never heard any person get it so right. Yes, Jessica X, shout out to you. Jessica X gets it right. King Dodongo with the $3.99 and a cup of coffee. Cheers to you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see, am I missing anything else? While I was speaking, I think Alton Prayer dropped another $10 super chat. For those of you who are new, like, subscribe, bell button, all, even share the stream as well. Like, subscribe, bell button, all. $10 from Alton Prayer says, here's another donation for great conversation you guys are having. Well, thank you very much, Alton Prayer. Now, okay, so I rank creativity and openness high on my totem pole. As a matter of fact, the live stream I did was about hierarchies, and I talked about the different hierarchies that people need to play in, and just to rehash that a little bit because it bears upon this tangentially. You have priestly kind of virtues, priestly, sage-like, wise man type of virtues, okay? The elbow patch type of virtues, elbow patch in the brig library with a pipe type of virtues, and that hierarchy, okay? People climb that hierarchy. There are different goals being pursued in that hierarchy, and there are certain virtues that are required to be part of the hierarchy or to climb. And then you have the princely / warrior types, okay? The generals, okay? Caesar, Napoleon, those people, okay? They're the princes, okay? They conquer. The princes and the military people, you were talking about valor, so on and so forth. And then you have also the artist type, and then you have the merchant type. In modern day capitalism, the merchant type is on top. But each individual needs to, number one, understand the different hierarchy games, but also number two, rank them. Okay, now, I rank openness, which is, I rank the sage the philosopher on top. That's the top of my hierarchy, followed by the artist. And then there's the merchant, okay? Philosophically now. And this does not have anything to do with capacity, okay? Or what I actually spent. No. Because some people, if you know the channel and so on and so forth, you kind of see me in this spaces, you may think, oh, this guy is all about capitalism. That's on the top of his poem post. Like, no, just because I'm all about making that money doesn't mean that the money is not a means to an end. The money is for me to be a philosopher and an artist. That's why I'm out here making money, because that's where I really get my jollies, is philosophy and art. So I say that to say this, okay? Now I rank openness, because of the art stuff, at very high on my totem pole, okay? Even though I'm an engineer and I like structure and so on and so forth, but it's lower in my hierarchy. Hence, I can commiserate with those whom are outside of the norm. You just mentioned, that you're competitive. Yeah, that going back to that question, right? That's the way in which you're outside of the norm. Any artist, by definition, is kind of outside of the norm. That's kind of what we're known for. In our head, because we're very open, we're not so much into rigidity of hierarchies, okay? So I can commiserate with people who would like to tear down walls, at least mentally, right? At least mentally. And but I draw a line at the assailing of normality and traditions and nature and so on and so forth, in order to feel accepted, right? There's this kind of an idea that if I'm outside the norm, then I need to assail the norm. I need to attack the norm because I want to feel accepted. I find it to be the case that a lot of academia, or a lot of, let's just call it a movement, this movement for equality and freedom, tends to have a priori political commitments, right? Let's say equity or equality of outcomes, or having an oppressor-oppressed narrative structure, and then everything follows after that. You've already decided that this is your commitment. You've already decided that I want to be accepted, and there you now go and spew out a bunch of false scholarship, that presumably supports your already predetermined commitment. And I find that to be intellectually dishonest. So while I can commiserate with people whom are outside the norm, because I'm an artist type, therefore my head is always able to go everywhere and find everything, overturn any hierarchy, all that kind of stuff, right? Because that's what creativity is about. But I think that it's intellectually dishonest to go ahead and have some kind of commitment, such as I want to be part of the norm, and then I'm going to go ahead and start overturning everything that is quote unquote natural and traditional, and then calling it a social construct. I just wanted to mention that. I think it's quite authoritarian. I don't know if you had any thoughts about what I just said. Any thoughts? I know I put quite a bit out there on the table, and I had promised not to get too philosophical, but it seems like I'm going that direction. But what are your thoughts on what I just said?
It was a bit much in there, a bit much.
Okay. We should move on then.
If you just break it down to one specific question, because then I was moving from.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I know what I did, and I apologize. So the point is, you might be outside of the norm in certain ways. That is one thing, because everything tends to be a bell curve, or similar to a bell curve. In other words, you have a middle and then you have a tail. But to try to seek acceptance by breaking down the norm, by saying, oh, all that stuff that you guys are doing over there, let's say if we keep it to the topic, all that definition of femininity is all just a social construct, and it's all about this oppressor-oppressed power dynamic thing, and it's all the men trying to keep you somewhere barefoot and pregnant, or whatever the narrative may be. What do you feel about, okay, because this person that is saying this may be more of a masculine woman, right? And because we know that there are people outside the norm, that we know that those people exist, and they're also feminine like men. But to then turn around at the middle of the bell curve and start saying, oh, all that stuff you guys are doing over there is fake, it's BS, and so on and so forth. I want to be accepted. In other words, the primacy of acceptance, trying to feel like you're part of the thing. What do you think about that? Like, because you said that, for example, you're quite competitive, but are you going to go ahead and say, well, therefore all women should be competitive? That kind of a wanting to be accepted, thereby you take down the norm, you assail the norm, you say it's a social construct. I'm going too far again, but have I kind of clearly?
No,
yeah.
I've got you, and so that is almost what we saw, right? So as you say, that there's a bell curve of human behaviors. There's a bell curve of psychology, however you want to put it. And what we've seen is that the things that deviate from the norm have now become the new norm. So I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing in society. However, it doesn't have to be that way. I feel like it's a purposeful shift, right? It's a purposeful shift because it's something that has come through all the systems that govern how we think and our actions. So whether that be the government, whether that's the education system, even families, right? This mindset is pushed upon us. So it's we're in a situation now where the bell curve, what is outside of the norm, is femininity. Femininity is seen as the deviation from the norm. I personally wouldn't, if somebody else isn't competitive, I have no issue with that. It's not something that I knock. I don't think it's necessarily. Now, if I'm not going to lie, if a man is not competitive, for me, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a turn off. It's a bit of a turn off. I'll be honest. I want somebody that wants to compete. It's something that I admire in a man. But for a woman, it's not something that I'd knock. If she doesn't want to be competitive, so be it. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, I tend to agree with you on that in the sense that just because I am outside of the norm in certain regards does not mean that, as a matter of fact, I actually relish being outside the norm, okay? I don't want people to come over here in crazy artist land, in hermit land, in philosopher land. I don't care. I don't want to be part of the norm. I don't have to throw stones at the norm in order to feel acceptance. I actually find it kind of psychologically weird that people want to do that, but this is not all about me. Let me read some super chats. Okay. From there, I said it. He says, gender should be ignored in the workplace, in my opinion. No room for chivalry unless woman in question is... What?
I think it's meant to be sharing.
Okay.
Is that sharing?
Is sharing a paycheck? I think so. Okay. Is sharing her paycheck with the male co-workers. Yeah, generally speaking, it's a dicey situation because there's something I want to say, okay? In terms of reality, in terms of timelines, this particular experiment that we're doing is very recent. And I think that a lot of people tend to mistake or not be clear as to the fact that the majority of human history has been one way. And even in modern history, okay? And then only recently are we doing this particular experiment, okay? Only recently are men and women more and more and more coming together in the workplace. So having to talk about it, having to tease it out, or the notion that we may not completely understand the trade-offs yet, or the notion that we may not completely understand the right particular arrangement, the right rules of engagement, should be clear. Because there's some people who just push back at the very notion of talking about it. Well, it's like, this is very recent. Okay, we're starting a new little chemistry thing here. You should expect to go back and restate your hypothesis, right? After you run a little bit of experiment. Oh, well, the litmus paper is a little blue. Maybe I should need to go back and drop in some more base and shake the acid over here. What should be allowed? How do we... That kind of a thing. So definitely agree with you, sir, on that. And we have Snuggles. What is Snuggles saying? Snuggles says, I am proud of you. You're starting to have thumbs down on your videos. Yes.
Oh gosh, that's called the Jessica X effect. There.
Jessica's bringing the smoke over this channel, over to this side of you. We were nice and peaceful little artist philosophers over here. You're bringing the smoke. I like it.
Wait, just quickly. Sorry, guys. Make sure you counteract those thumbs down with some thumbs up, please. So hit the like button and let's try to get the likes up to 200 by the end.
Excellent. And thank you very much. Snuggles also said, keep up the good work. And what I did miss brief synopsis, please? No. Someone help Snuggles with whatever they might have missed. But we're talking about the modern natural woman. The modernity and nature are in conflict, simply speaking, because we are pushing back on nature through science, through the modern political project, in order to create more space for freedom and equality. Yeah, there you go. That's the broad strokes, basic premise of this show, and we're talking about it through the lens of a woman, and we're keeping it philosophical because I don't know how to do it any other way. In other words. Like there, everything else tends to be, it doesn't work for me that way. So Aizen Sama in the house. Aizen Sama, the leader of the. Anyways, salute, brother, and thank you for the $5 super chat. Says salute, brother. I'm a new subscriber, and from what I'm hearing, what you have planned, I'm going to enjoy your content, brother. Yes. This is what we do over here. And bam, Afi Kingdom with a $50 super chat. I did not notice you there, sir. A fellow dweller of the in the Bay Area over here. I believe you're from Oakland. Well, I'm over here in Silicon Valley. You're in Oakland. We're still in the same Bay Area. Thank you very much for the $50 super chat. That puts you in the category of sponsor today. Salute, he says, my Bay Area bro. Hey, sis, Jessica X. Sarcastic and with style, blessing to success for both of you. Hey, sis, Jessica X, sarcastic and with my style, bless. Okay, I'm not quite sure.
Witty. Sarcastic and witty, my style.
Oh, my bad. Apparently, I can't read. Okay. Black Knight, thank you for the $2. Canadian dollars, that is. That's accepted here as well. No shade. No, it was for your explanation on academia. I'm not quite sure exactly. Here's another donation for consideration. Okay, cool. Excellent. Okay. Now let's get back
Probably
on
a couple
track.
more at the bottom before you use those ones.
Oh, okay.
You had another 50 from D.
Oh my God.
And Sebastian as well.
Jesus Christ. Excellent, much appreciated. And D, how are you doing? I see you around the areas, and I'm glad to see you over here. I hope you have subscribed to the channel. Let me go ahead and highlight your super chat, and you say, and it's $50. You're another sponsor, okay? You say, hope your channel grows. Good luck and best wishes. Well, thank you very much, milady. Okay, and we have Sebastian, another Canadian, a regular over here in this channel. He dropped $5. He says, "Cheers, Ike, Jessica X. Respect your courage to come and participate in the discussion." Okay, Jay. Do you see a future where women will revert to the feminine? It's one of the questions that I had. Okay, now. Is the horse out of the barn? Is the cat out of the bag? Is can we put Humpty Dumpty together again? Do you have any hope as to the traditional way, not for individuals now, okay? Because we get that, we get it. But in mass, if you will, is there any hope for that? Do you see, women, reverting to that, the feminine, as Mr. Sebastian is asking? What do you say?
I am hopeful for that. You see, you said it earlier, Ike. This is almost like an experiment, and we're mixing the chemicals together. You know, when you were referencing men and women working together in the workplace, I feel like this whole thing, as a whole, it's like an experiment, and we're mixing the chemicals together, and we're seeing what's happening. And there's a few mini explosions, things are bubbling, and we didn't quite know what to expect, but. Biology, I feel like biology always wins. Mother Nature always has the last say. And as much as, society and all of these social constructs are trying to push one form of behavior on us, we only have to look at the uprisings that are in society. What the messages that aren't shown in the media, because the media is simply almost capitalizing off of the whole feminism and trying to dampen male masculinity. Right now the media is capitalizing off that, so it seems very loud, but when you go into the deep, the roots of society, the everyday person. There are a lot of people who are not having it. They're not happy. When we see the success of certain platforms, take a Kevin Samuels, for example, where it's almost, a fight back against the social constructs, the new social constructs, I should say. People aren't happy. So although it's there and it's bubbling, I feel as though it will simmer down at some point. You can't beat biology, and those natural urges are going to come through. As much as you're trying to dampen male masculinity, men are saying, no, I'm not having it. And the women are seeing that, okay, you've pushed this message on me, you've pushed this lifestyle on me, I'm trying it out, I'm trying to do it, but I'm not fulfilled. I feel within it's not going to be something that's overnight. It's not. But within a few generations, I do see things, turning, shifting back to their original way.
Now you had mentioned about your dad, kind of pushing that education thing, and I get it completely from that Nigerian background that we share. But do you consider yourself nonetheless to have had a traditional upbringing? And if you don't mind me asking, because I think it bears upon it a little bit, and also for my curiosity, what economic class were you surrounded by when you were growing up? So was it traditional, and what particular class would you say it was in?
I don't want to give too much away. My dad was in the medical field, in I'd say the cardiovascular field,
Okay.
and he stopped that, and he has businesses, so that's what he does now.
Well, gotcha.
I'd say I've grown up not mega rich, but I've grown up comfortably. I've grown up
You you
comfortably, but
you you had houseboys. The non-Nigerians out there may not understand, but I don't know if you want to explain that, or if it's too much of a tangent and a non sequitur. You don't have to go into that. But
um, houseboys. Okay, so if you go over to Nigeria, I feel it's common because it was in every place that every other house that we visited. Family,
so
friends.
that was the crew that you were with. Okay, go on.
It was a norm from what I saw, but essentially what you'd have is you'd have so for us personally, we have a boy. He'd be about 17. My
Hmm.
last visit, he was about 14, 15. And he's just there essentially as help around the house. So you'd call him a houseboy. The concept can seem weird to people who are outside of the culture, because it's like, what, you have this child that's slave labor and all of this stuff, but in turn, they pay for his education, so he has access to a very good education over there. They take care of him very well, very well. Birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, they treat him very well. So yeah, that's a houseboy. Not to get too much into it. We had
Gotcha.
house girl. The house girl mainly does. She was cooking. I never saw her much. I never saw her as much. But she would cook. She would clean. And they have their own sort of like quarters within the house where they stay, and they're comfortable.
Gotcha. Yes. So I wanted to throw that in on purpose, just to kind of shake the box a little bit, also for people to understand what other people live like outside the United States. If you're the middle class or upper middle class or so on and so forth, and you may call them servants. Somebody in the chat is calling them slaves. Someone says it's not weird, it's slavery. As in, oh yeah, of course it's. but it's not exactly that. It's a different culture. Well, go ahead. What do you have to say?
I was just going to say, okay, and I get people may look at it on the surface and say, that seems kind of wrong to me. But at the same time, this boy is going to have access to an education and opportunity that he never would have had access to,
Mm-hmm.
but for the fact that he's doing what he's doing. So it
Mm-hmm.
is opening doors for him, and his family know that, and that's why they're allowing the situation to be, because
Mm-hmm.
he's well taken care of. He's going to finish his schooling, come over here to pursue his university degree, and he's going to make a lot of money. It's bringing him out of a life that could be seen as poverty, and it's opening the doors for him, basically. And so, although it seems weird or slightly wrong to outsiders, it's helping him. It's giving him opportunity, and he's a lovely boy, very polite, but he has that work ethic already. You know, he has that work ethic from young. He knows what he had to do to get access to what he's going to have access to, and he's appreciative of it, because he knows, but for him being there, he wouldn't have access to those things.
100%. And I will co-sign with that, which is basically that you're talking about people whom are in the lower classes, okay? And when I say that, it even sounds wrong to me. But, we're grown-ups over here, we're adults, and we have brain cells to rub together, so we understand reality. And we're talking about people whom would otherwise not have the opportunities, right? And it's not the case that this person is being mistreated or so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, if they stayed within their milieu, their classes, they will be doing the same kind of work, right? But they will not be getting these other benefits that they could be getting. They have a roof over their head. They're going to be education going to be paid for, so on and so forth. Yes. So having that houseboy wash your feet when you come in the house.
I was uncomfortable with the foot washing, so I told him no, but it is something that he does for them. So, when you get back from going out, they take your shoes off, they wash your feet, things like that.
So okay, so a little bit for the entertainment value, just so that we can open up the curtain a little bit, take a sneak peek into Nigerian royalty over here and getting their feet washed. Little tongue. A little tongue in cheek, but it is what it is. Now, shout out to Snuggles in the house. I think a couple of super chats, and then we'll move on here. But Snuggles, I believe, has a question. She said, Jessica, do men understand the nature of women? And by the way, Snuggles, okay, learn punctuation, dude. All right, I'll just leave it at that. Jessica, do men understand the nature of women and how it affects them, and how the interplay works between each other? In your opinion, do you think men understand the nature of women?
I think they do to a certain extent, but I think sometimes men are frustrated at the nature of women. To use an example, I'd say hypergamy. Men are frustrated that women are hypergamous. Women are attracted to resources, and that's why we have the whole get the bag movement and level up movement, but that's a part of female nature. It is. Women are attracted to resources, and as I say, it's natural, so I'm not going to shame a woman for that. However, I will say that it can be a dark-sided element of female nature. It can turn dark-sided. So if you're going to lie and manipulate and cheat in order to get access to those resources, that's where it becomes dark-sided. But the want for it is natural, and sometimes that can be uncomfortable.
I see. K Coaching, thank you very much for the $10 super chat, and thank you very much for the support. Again, you guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and hit all. Okay, like, subscribe, bell button, all. If you like intelligent conversation, if you like places where people can be open, free, and keep things simple, measurable, actionable, okay, intuitive, and without running away from the realities, or without painting things in and creating false dichotomies and just generally being stupid, okay, which is what we don't do over here. We are generally against stupidity, and we are for the understanding that, to go back to that experiment kind of notion, that whenever we're doing something, we need to understand that there are trade-offs, and especially when it's a recent event, we need to know that we need to do a little bit of experiment, go back, restate the hypothesis. We understand how the scientific method works. Therefore, we should not be stupid, okay? So now, you're a YouTuber, okay? In the male and dare I say also male RP space, right? Um, and in the RP spaces, there is a presence of traditionalism and even spirituality on a certain level. And because the typical arc, okay, the typical arc for men whom find this space, it goes from something like, well, men are having trouble with women, okay, either trouble trouble with relationships with women. It could be a divorce, or it could be of the incel nature, where it's like, I wish I had a divorce, right? And dating issues in general. And then they try to learn, let's say, game. They go find the PUAs, and then the PUAs say, hey, improve these particular skills. And then from there, they find self improvement in general. Improve these other skills, improve your physical, your financial, your mental, and all the way to spiritual. And you may start the whole no fap religion and so on and so forth, which is kind of found around these spaces. Okay. Do you so it is kind of in this space, if is that kind of clear what I'm saying, that it tends to have this arc, okay, you go from PUA to spirituality almost, right? And do you believe in God, right? Well, what do you have a spiritual practice, and how does this inform the stances that you take within these spaces?
So I do believe in God. I grew up in a religious household. I grew up in a Christian household. So that's definitely an influence in, as to who I am today. It's definitely a strong influence because it's something that has been ingrained in me from a young age. And I did have almost a bit of backlash against that because, at one point we'd this is the thing, every Sunday, we'd go to church from morning until basically night. I'm not joking. We would go to one church in the morning, then we'd go to another one midday. We always used to stop off at my dad's friend's house that was close to the church. We'd eat, do whatever, we'd get to like chill for a bit, and then we were on to another church. And so that was the routine every Sunday. And I felt like it was pushed on me a lot. And so there was a stage that I became rebellious. I was like, you know what, I don't like it. I never want to go to church again. I hate having to go to church because it was so pushed on me. But I did, even through that stage, although the notion of going to church would just be like, "Ugh," I never lost my actual belief. I still believed in God, but it was just a lot of things that came along with it that I rebelled against. Afterwards, I did go back to church. I had a bad experience. Well, not a bad experience. Okay, put it like this. I'd gone to church with my friend, and one of the junior pastors there had said something to me. He said something to me, and I had the discussion with my friend, and I was talking about what he said, and she went back and she asked him about that, and he lied. He lied to my face, and he said, "I never said that. I never said that." He completely denied it, but it was the fact that I had somebody there who was meant to be a junior pastor in a position of, trust, a high up position. You're meant to be a man of God, and you're lying right now. You're lying to my face. I'm like, "You did say that." He said, "No, no, no, I didn't." And it was at that point I said, "Okay, I have my beliefs. However, people that you find in the churches, they are merely people. They're people, flawed people, just like me, just like everyone else. And so I can still have my faith, but I don't need to go to a church in order to indulge in that. But I still have my faith. So I
I
still believe,
see.
just I don't go to church."
Okay. And so the traditionalism and the spirituality that was inculcated in you in these institutions, there's kind of like a natural progression into these spaces that you're in and the stances that you take in these spaces, would you say?
Definitely. It definitely shapes who I am, the mindset that I have and the positions, and they just happen to align because there is, as you say, an undertone of spirituality, and spirituality promotes traditional roles. That's almost where the original social constructs came from, the social constructs of society. So there definitely is that undertone within the space, and it means that I've been able to come in and, my thoughts align, majority wise, my thoughts align with the space.
I see, I see, I see. It's Mike got the £2, and I see the people coming from England. Well, for Jessica X, and because also it's a decent hour over there, and not my usual broadcast time is uh, is uh, is not quite conducive to our English brothers and sisters over there. But thank you very much for the £2. And whom else? What are the other super chats? Okay, we got our fellow Dusty over here says, "Ugh, feeling too damn dusty today." Sprinkle, sprinkle. $50. Jonathan, always a pleasure. Jonathan Barronville, another one of the heavy hitters out there. Software engineer, real estate type. He's a real estate mogul out there doing his thing. Thank you very much for the $50 super chat. And we have Sebastian, whom has a question. Can I find his question to be highlighted over here? He says, "Jessica, do you believe there is a code of ethics for women being hypergamous?" In other words, okay, because if I dare interpret, whatever kind of nature thing that is in you. Let's say, a man, he's competitive and he wants to hit you over the head in the alley. Let's put a code of ethics around how you channel your competitiveness, and how you don't go hit people over the head in the alley. Now, is there a code of ethics for the female, the aspect of female nature, which is hypergamy, which is, you want somebody. Women tend to date up in the hierarchy, marry up in the hierarchy. They don't want to go down. Perfectly understood. Like, it's like, for me anyways, it's like, yeah, of course. Like, for me, it's just a given. Again, I grew up also in a traditional kind of, we have similar backgrounds, right? So it's kind of clear, but what is the code of conduct around that? Oh, is there one? And is there a right or wrong way to go about it, right? Are men disposable? What do you say?
So I don't believe that men are disposable, and there's definitely a code of ethics as to, going about and fulfilling your nature. There's a code of ethics towards that. And so I'm all for making the most of what you've got. I'm all for even manipulating situations. Okay? So if you have to put yourself where certain people are, I'm fine with that. I'm like, okay, makes sense. But what gets me is the lying. You've had people that say, lie to him and tell him you have no kids, and then spring it on him a year later in order to, make that connection, and then they don't want to let you go. You have people, so lying, stealing. You have women who are saying, go out on a date with him, wait till he's sleeping and raid his wallet, steal what you can from his jewelry collection. These are the dark sides of hypergamy. So by any means necessary, you're going to get that bag. So there's definitely a code of ethics as to how we're going about it. Make the most of what you've got, make the most of situations, but do not lie, do not cheat, and do not steal. That's where I draw the line.
Okay, so number one, if I may, I'm adding now, and also it's parallel. It's the same thing that I'm saying, that you said. No, I believe in acceptance of nature, right? Whatever it may be. Like, hey, I'm a man. Hey, we know what the honey trap is, right? Do you know what the honey trap is in the intelligence world, the intelligence agencies?
It's almost like a sting operation. So you put a woman in there in order to, entice somebody, and
Yeah.
for a purpose. Yeah.
So intelligence agencies don't do things that don't work. Okay. So there is an aspect of male nature such that they're susceptible to falling for the honey trap. Okay. This is something that is just well known. It is well accepted. So as a man, you need to accept that aspect of your nature. And then you have codes of conduct and so on and so forth to kind of guide that, what you do and what you do not do, so you don't fall for the honey trap, if you will. So the same thing is the case for the female side of the ledger, whereby there is an aspect to your nature, one of them just being hypergamy. And the first thing is to accept it. Don't feel bad about your nature. I don't feel bad that I'm a man that is susceptible to the honey trap in terms of temptations, right? We all have, due to our nature, a set of temptations that we need to watch out for. If you don't even accept it, then you're more likely to fall for it, right? Like for example, Mike Pence and his Pence rule. He's not gonna have a dinner with a woman alone, right? I think there was this particular pastor, I forget his name, but one of these big kind of Pentecostal guys in the United States. That was also his move. Okay, whenever he would go to a hotel or travel, like he has this person go to the rooms, check out the place, make sure that there's no one there, waiting to trap him, so that he doesn't fall for it. That there's just that thing about, if you shouldn't be going to Miami, then just avoid the state of Florida, right? So first of all, you should know what that Miami is, what your particular set of temptations are due to your nature, so that you know how to avoid it. So I'm just adding that hiding away from nature is not to your benefit. Okay, and it's you know what it is, so that you know how to avoid the particular temptations that you are susceptible to. Now we have. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I was just agreeing. I was agreeing.
Gotcha. $2 super chat from the Green Machine. He says, "Salute Ike for getting roasted on camera." You're talking about Andrew Schultz. I don't know. Have you seen the video, Jessica X? The video called "Albino Says the N-Word."
Do you know what was weird? I actually saw that video not long before I saw you for the first time in Kevin's chat. And I'd seen the comedian video. So it's weird how that happened. And I didn't even put two and two together, first of all. But later I did.
Yeah. There's a viral video out there, about like over 2 million, almost close to 3 million views. You could go look it up, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to. And is that Kyodor? Yes, that is my fellow. He's in the construction space, or he's in the drafting architectural space. $5 super chat. He says, "Love and respect to the panel." Okay. So if we move on, okay, why and how did you get into the Black manosphere, if you will, and why the American quote unquote manosphere as opposed to I'm assuming there's some kind of a British one, right? How did that happen? Okay, how did that happen?
So, as far as I know, there is no British manosphere. The British manosphere does not exist. So you'd find that the Brits come over to, the American manosphere, so to say. I found the space initially through O'Shea. So one of O'Shea, O'Shea Duke Jackson, one of his videos pops up in my recommended. I watched that. I thought he was funny. It was entertaining. I was there in the live chat, just speaking to different people, and somebody else said, "Oh, I've got a channel, check it out." And so I went over to look at his channel. I think Mr. Fantastic. I went over to his channel, and got on the panel there, and that's where it all started. So hopped on my first panel. The conversations were interesting. I feel like these are conversations that we're not really having. We don't have, well, at least for me, I don't have these conversations in real life. I don't. It's something that's kind of frowned upon. And now when, we spoke of the bell curve before, now I am the outlier to the bell curve. So my position doesn't quite align with everybody else's. And so it makes having these conversations hard. So when I came here, I was like, wow, there's this space where we actually get to discuss all of these things. I'm agreeing with it. It's the first time that, well, not the first time, but the first time that I've been in a space with so many people and we're all sharing the same ideals. And that was interesting to me. And I wanted to just come back and keep having more conversation. And so here I am.
And Debo says...
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm going to get myself a drink quickly. I will be back in just a second.
Excellent. And we're making cocktails now. Debo says she started from the bottom, now she here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team effing here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let me see. Let me read some super chats here. Thank you, King Dodongo, for another $50 super chat. You guys are coming in hot and heavy handed with the super chats. Very much appreciated. Let me go ahead and highlight that. Thank you very much, King Dodongo. And let me see here. Is there anyone else that I'm missing? And anyone that is new to this channel, please make sure that you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell button and then hit the all button. Like, subscribe, bell button, all. LSBA, that is the algorithm, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now, for me, coming into this space, and then Jonathan Barronville just hit me with another super chat while I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. Let me just go ahead and take care of that. That way it does not escape me. Jonathan Barronville, I think you have something to say. You said, okay, side note, the houseboy. Oh, okay. The houseboy concept that y'all described earlier is only strange to Americans and the like. Yes, we know. And that's why I brought it up on purpose. I brought it up on purpose to kind of jar people, shock people a little bit, because that is entertaining after all. The same thing exists in Haiti. Makes sense. Okay. You know, you have the yes. Places that are heavily influenced by African culture have that kind of thing still going on. Sure, some folks do exploit the children, but in most cases, okay, most cases, okay, they extend the family. Yes, that in my experience, they are family, they become family, but yes, they are there to serve. Okay, it is something that people growing up in a society such as the West with the egalitarian framework, where there is a strong emphasis on freedom and equality, tend to find it hard to swallow. And
Yeah.
over there in the jungle, if you will, it's just a little bit more of the law of the jungle. Now, if we get back to what we're talking about here in terms of YouTube, you found through O'Shea Duke Jackson, okay? So now, relative to my other strengths, okay, being strategic is not my strong suit, okay? Sometimes I tell people this and they're always like, huh? What are you talking about? You're not strategic, you're this engineer, blah, blah, blah type of that. You seem very structured. I'm talking about relative, okay? Relative, my intuition is way more stronger than my strategic side, okay? And my art side is stronger. So if you want to create this dichotomy, I'm more of an entrepreneur than a CEO. A CEO, manager, accountant type, that's not my strong suit. I rather just go and act. So I tend to just, I'm motivated by a penchant for action, okay? I'm intrinsically motivated. I tend not to have outside kind of motives. The reason I'm saying this is because I came to YouTube following the same pattern that I just described. It's all about action, 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 action. I did not have a strategy. I did not have some kind of external goal. For you, how are you also more strategic? Are you a strategic person, or do you just jump in out of a penchant for action? And what are your goals in the space? Okay, whether they were laid out in a strategic fashion a priori, or these goals that have now kind of coalesced over time as a result of being in the space. What would you like to see, and also what would you like to get from it? So there's kind of like a manifold thing there. Are you a strategic person? Did you plan it out? Are you one of those kinds, or do you just jump in? You have a penchant for action, you go into it, and then what are your goals vis-a-vis being in this space?
I am quite impulsive. I'm quite impulsive, and I don't do well with structure. And so it's even when you was talking about, accounting, I studied accounting at uni and I hated it. I hated it because it
I feel
is so
you.
structured, it is so rigid, and I like a bit of, I like creativity, I like things that are different, and I couldn't imagine having to just, the life of an accountant would bore the hell out of me, just doing the same thing day in, day out, and just sticking to that rigid format. So, yeah, I'm impulsive. I do have that about myself. And it's interesting because when you hear different people's stories, they say that they sat back and they watched the manosphere for a year before they ever even commented. And I was right up in the comment section, just talking away, and within a week I was on a panel. So there's been no structure to it for me. I've just been going with the flow, seeing what happens. And yeah, it's not something that I've planned or structured. It's just something that I'm embracing. I'm embracing all of the twists and the turns, and yeah, that's exciting for me, you know? I don't do well with structure. I don't do too well with planning things, which is why sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to be back on Thursday for a stream, and Thursday comes and I'm like I'm not there, and I'd have to put it off to the next day because I'm bad with structure. I'm bad with planning. It's definitely something I need to improve on, having a channel now. So I need to improve on that.
Yeah, I can commiserate in that sense. And to kind of so again, people say, well, how can you, and not to psychoanalyze myself on screen here, but because this is something that a lot of people are confused about when it comes to me in personal life and what I'm a little bit on the YouTube channel. It's like, well, you're an engineer, man. How are you saying that you're not a structured person? What I like in engineering is the ideation, the conceptualization, okay? Not the busy work, okay? I like how you can go from intuition, the intuition of, let's say, what is a force, okay? Okay, so there's this mass thing and then there's this movement thing, okay? They tend to produce a force. F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration. How do you come up with that thing, okay? How do you go from the intuition to the picture and then to the graphing of the picture and then to the equation, right? I don't really care much for the equation. The equation is a symbol, it's just symbolism to me. I want to go down to the grokking of the concepts, right? So with engineering, I'm a very conceptual type of person. When it comes to, oh, well, let's fill out all these spreadsheets and create these formal ways of producing the product, right, that we need to put out there, I leave that up to other people. I'm more of the, how do we solve the problem by conceptualizing the problem from an intuition to a picture to a set of graphical symbols, a chart, if you will, a graph, and then come up with equations and then go from there. So that is how, in a way, to the degree to which anybody, if I was clear, that's what I tend to like. There can be an engineer that likes things very, very conceptual, and I don't care much for spreadsheeting and equations and so on and so forth. I care to understand at a baseline level what the concepts that we're talking about are. And you can go to my channel. My other channel is called Prometheus Engineering, or group, and same name as my company. And over there, I share from a very conceptual level, an intuitive level, all kinds of engineering concepts, right? Because I made it for people whom are like me, because education tends not to focus on that. Education tends to focus on the symbols level, in terms of like, here are the equations that you use, here are the methods that you use. But I don't like that. To me, that's akin to carrying a whole big bag of tools. I like to have the magic of being able to create the tool on the spot. So I go down to the basics, to the foundation, and I can create it, given any particular circumstance, yeah, I promise not to get too philosophical, but I'll stop there in the description of, and getting all self-indulgent here about talking about myself. So if we go back, okay, to the topic, okay, someone already asked, about, that you think we can go back to the traditional models, and you said that, okay, well, yes, that you think that it is possible. Is part of your goals, because you answered one side of the question that I asked earlier about your penchant for action being impulsive, and I say yes, that's how I roll too. But do you have goals now, right? Because if you're anything like me, yeah, we jump, we do things, and then we look backwards, we see what has happened, and then we say, okay, what would I like to see either get from the space or see in the space? Are you trying to push, for example, this one person at a time, one smoke show at a time on the panels, get that idea of people maybe accepting more traditional models of male and female relatedness? Or what exactly is it, or your goals, if you have any?
So my goal overall is just to get people to acknowledge the message, because there's a lot of talk that, you don't want the best for women. And I'm saying, like, listen, what I'm giving you, what I'm telling you, it's actually for the betterment of you. It's something that's going to help you. People don't seem to, the women that that I talk to don't always seem to understand that. And I'm like, listen, this is the best way to go about your goals and get what you want. Ultimately, you get what you want, he gets what he wants, and everybody's happy. So my goal is to keep spreading the message and hopefully bring as many people as I can around to my way of thinking, or not even my way of thinking. I shouldn't say that. Around to the correct way of thinking, a way of thinking that is going to benefit them. So that's the goal right now.
Gotcha. And Snuggles, do you mind reading what Snuggles says over there, addressing you?
So Snuggle says, Jessica, with your love for the lack of structure, are you trying to say you like bad boys? No, I don't know how you equate the two. Um, I think, listen, I myself am very free flowing, right? I like to, I'm go with the flow. I am. So I need somebody in a partner. I don't equate it to being a bad boy, but I need somebody who also has that go with the flow energy, but also an element of structure, because I feel like if they're going to be in charge and they're going to be the leader, they need to have that structure there that I can follow, but also an energy where they can go with the flow so we can enjoy that too. So no, not a bad boy. Snuggles.
Excellent. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Snuggles, and another $5 super chat from Mr. Aizen Sama. He says, and that name, by the way, and that character, for those who don't know it, is from the anime called Bleach. Miss Eisen, Mr. Eisen, I hope I'm not giving giving away the character after whom you are modeling yourself. But that's the person, that's the anime. It's called Bleach. What people don't understand is that equality is an illusion between those with power and authority and those without those things, right? Equality does not exist. Yeah, of course it does not. And to some of us, it is quite clear, which is that there is no equality in nature, whether you're looking at the size of planets or the size of bamboo trees in the forest or the natural innate talents that people have or their ability to hone those talents, to train on those gifts, so on and so on and so on, without some kind of a very heavy-handed power structure that tries to suppress this natural inequality, which would just happen anyways, right? Nature works in a distribution. People are going to be born. Some people are going to be Usain Bolt. Some people are going to be not. Some people are going to be, Einstein brain cell type, and some people are going to be not. And even after that, some people are going to be, as a result of being born in this particular circumstance, and the other, plus also being able to cultivate their talents, you're going to have inequality, right? So the notion of just because there is a political project, that we're part of that values these three things: number one, equality, and then number two, freedom, and then number three, nature, it does not mean that they all are compatible with each other. The notion of trade-offs is a very important aspect of of the philosophical mindset, right? People who are not philosophical, no shade, no smoke to you, but I would definitely say, hey, tune into this channel. The main thing that we know as a philosophical person is there are no solutions. There is no answer, right? And that's why philosophy has been going on for thousands of years. It's a question of bouncing out the different questions, looking at the different experiments that are now going on, going back, restating hypotheses, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay, now, let me see here. I'm gonna make a slight transition, and also I've opened up the stream and we'll let people come in. But I'm gonna now get to the point of, because I mentioned a couple of organs of influence by which the modern mindset is propagated. One of them, is marketing. Right? We talked about education before, and you said that's already too far gone. Like the education stew has already been made, and it's already been fed down, even down to even the lower secondary school or even primary school, and so on and so forth. And it's all through politics already. All the books have been written, and such that now marketing is able to take advantage. Okay, now women are the more social of the species. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So just to make sure, we're following here, and that, people are, so I'm not just saying something as a man. So a woman understands that you guys are more social, and we can just intuitively think like, yeah, okay, yeah, you guys are more social. They're more susceptible, therefore, to social pressures, right? And also, women also spend the most money. They don't necessarily make the most, but they spend the most money. Hence, they're heavily marketed to. Okay, women are heavily marketed to, and our marketers sell you a story. Over here as well, we talk about sales, marketing, influence, persuasion. There's another brand of things that we do over here. I think it's very, very important for people to develop such soft skills, and go ahead and check out my playlist on these kinds of things. But one thing that I always say, and one thing that is true, is that people don't sell you their product directly. They sell you a lifestyle. Okay, you have a lifestyle. Let's say it's I'm a biker lifestyle, and then you get a biker magazine, and they're portraying images of this lifestyle, and they just drop products. It's product placement inside. Hey, you're a biker. Here's a picture of you next to your bike, and here's this radio. Okay. This is the radio for bikers. And you're like, yep, click, I'm going to buy it because of the image. People sell you a lifestyle. People sell you a possible future. That future where that radio is part of this lifestyle of yours. It's subliminal, so on and so forth. Anyone in marketing knows it, and any good salesperson knows it. Okay, so marketers take advantage of the modern narrative. Let's say the strong, independent woman narrative, the single professional woman, hot girl summers, sales trips, so on and so forth. They put that in magazines, they put that everywhere, and then they start selling you weaves and purses and Birkin bags and hair products and all kinds of things. Okay, now, are the effects of marketing campaigns something that you are cognizant of? How do you see the effects? Okay, amongst your peers or in yourself, what do you think, generally speaking, about the facts that I just kind of laid out?
So definitely, okay, women, we're consumers. Primarily, we're consumers. That can't be denied. And as you say, marketing sells. The key to marketing is to sell you a story. It's to sell you a lifestyle, as opposed to just a single product.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, yeah. So, let me see if I can think of an example that I could give regarding feminism selling us a lifestyle in marketing. I don't want to think of a product per se.
Hmm.
I just thought of a product. It's like a how to be more like a man product.
Hmm.
I don't know if I should get into that.
Is it that does it have to do with urination?
Yes, you know what I'm talking about.
I, yeah, us intuitive types, we can kind of guess. Okay, so yeah, well, go ahead, say it or not. Oh, don't say it, but go ahead.
Okay, that product is called. I don't know if it's got the same name over there, but over here it's called a shiwi. A shiwi, and what it helps you to do is it allows you to pee standing up like a man. So it's like,
Hmm.
forget the inconvenience of having to sit down to go to the toilet. Get yourself a shiwi. So you can even go to the toilet like a man now. That's how sort of ridiculous things are. Um, but I want to think of something along the lines of, yes, a shiwi. I want to think of something more, as opposed to a product, more a lifestyle that is being
Hmm.
promoted.
So if you
If,
say, I'm sorry not to, but there is the Sex and the City lifestyle, right? It has to do more with sexual liberation, if you will, right? That kind of a thing. Um, there are these people that are put out there. Yes, I am a single woman going from this man to this man and doing this kind of thing. I'm having it all. I'm having a ball. Um, is that a lifestyle that is pushed, or did I completely derail your thought process there?
no, that's a perfect example. Sex and the City is slightly before my time. So it's not something that I ever watched, but I know the whole the narrative of it is exactly what we're seeing today. So it's that powerful career woman. I think the main character is like a journalist for a big magazine, and she's going from man to man, and it's all about, being sexually liberated, the trials and tribulations of going from guy to guy. And it's almost a lifestyle that is glamorized. I suppose she's an older woman, I think. I don't know, she's meant to be like in her 40s.
Yeah, there some. I did not really watch it, but to my understanding, there was an older one. I believe it was the redhead, and then there was a crew, right? And they're not particularly young. Let's just put it that way. It's not supposed to be like, oh, a young girl thing. They were definitely graduated, well into their career, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So yeah, it's this older woman still being, it's like the sexual liberation of the older woman, and it sells women the notion that you can be older and have all of these opportunities. I think one of them was with Mr. Big, who's this, millionaire, really successful businessman, and it tells you that you can have it all. It's selling them a lifestyle that really and truly basically nobody is going to be able to achieve. Like 0.0001 of the percent of the population will be able to get that at that age. So it's these things where they're selling women unrealistic lifestyles. That's the main thing about it. The lifestyles that they're selling are unrealistic, but because we're women, we love the fairy tale. We love the unrealistic happy ending, and so women buy into it.
Okay, so I did not say it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look who we have here. It's the infamous Massage Noir. He has come. He smelled the scent. He was like, Jessica X is somewhere out there. I need to come and challenge her. Massage Noir, what do you have for us, sir? Massage Noir.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you, sir.
I was going to say it's not like you to be so quiet. Usually you're very outspoken.
He's a PhD. Go on.
Yeah, however that thing is said. And anyways, right, okay. So obviously you guys are saying some interesting stuff, but there's a couple problems though that I've already heard. Now, some of the actually I'll say the whole thing is a problem. But anyways, let's get down to it. So this is I'll try to break down the problems. So the first problem is that you guys are basically talking about traditionalism, right? The system is never going to go back to the way it used to be, because the way the system used to be, there used to be like shaming tactics that was employed by people in society, both from men and women and society as a whole. So there was something that used to hold people back, so that if they act in a certain way, they're kind of brought back to how things should be. The problem is right now we got too much rights. So the way that you guys want the system to be is too idealistic. It's never going to go back the way it used to be. It's only going to keep moving the other direction. Sure, you might get a few people that like basically, I want to do things this way. And sure, maybe those people can find each other, right? But it's never going to reach what I call critical mass. That's just never really going to happen unless there is some kind of way that the system finds its way to kind of correct itself. This always happens when it's energy. And it can't be energy by individuals. It's got to be some systematic thing that happens across board, maybe even institutionalized. That's why I keep talking about those, churches. But the point,
here we go.
right. There's a point to it, right? It wasn't just some random thing. So the point I'm trying to make here really is that, so the system is not going to self-correct itself to go back to some regressive, traditionalist state. The system's going to keep moving forward. People got too much rights. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying that's how it is. So you guys are just being too idealistic. Maybe some of you will change your tune, get what you want. But the problem is, again, when you're being tempted from different realms, right? Imagine you fix yourself, right? You stop doing drugs, you stop doing alcohol, but your friends don't stop doing it. What's going to happen is your friend's going to invite you one night, yo, let's go down the club, innit? And then you're going to be like, rah, why not? Especially if you're feeling down. So imagine your relationship or marriage going down. You're just going to get tempted down the divorce court, down by the all his money, alimony, or no, all his money, as they say. You're going to get tempted. He's going to get tempted when he's 45, making so much money to go find a younger model of the car. He's going to prefer to ride in that younger model. So the point is, unless there's some kind of social or some kind of incentive to kind of self-correct, the system ain't gonna go back the way it used to be.
Here's the thing. It's never going to go back completely to how it was before. There are some things that have been set in motion that are not going to change. So you're never going to entirely push women out of the workforce. That's not going to happen. I've heard some people call for women's right to vote to be taken away. That's never going to happen. There are certain things that aren't going to change. However, what I'm talking about is more of a mindset as opposed to, certain structures that are in place. I'm talking about a mindset shift because, as I say, women aren't going to leave the workforce. However, you can. It's the way women are within the workforce and the way they weaponize their positions. So it's not necessarily their career, it's the weaponization of their career. For example, when a woman says, well, I have this job, so I need a man who, just say you're a woman and you rise to the top of your field. Women still have the thought that I want a man who earns more than me, right? I deserve that because I've got a PhD, because I've got this, because I've got that. And women are going to start realizing that that mindset doesn't work. That mindset is not going to produce results. If they keep having that standard up there, they're not going to find what they're seeking. So it's not that all of a sudden, women are suddenly just going to quit their careers and say, I'm never working again. But she's going to have her career, but the mindset and the way that she's going about getting what she wants is going to shift, because she's going to say, listen, if I want companionship and I don't want to end up old and alone, I have to change my way of thinking. She's not going to, step down the career ladder, but she's going to change her mentality. So that's what I'm talking about. There's going to be a shift in mentality as opposed to structures.
Well, I mean,
Now, hold on, sir. You see what is on the screen, right? And you're a PhD, so you understand what is meant by that, right?
right.
Okay. So now another way to put it is this, right? So Jessica said that things are not going to go back, right? To simplify things, because again, there's always a danger, misogynoir, when you show up for things to go into abstract land, which is all great by me, okay? If we were together downstairs by my fireplace and I pour some, some great scotch, 18-year aged, we could go all night talking about abstractions, okay? But we just a note of caution here, we don't want to necessarily do that. So I'm going to simplify things to say, well, is it not the case that if you call it sinusoidal, right? But it's more like a spiral whereby you're not in the same position even when you get back to the same position, right? So you were at this position and then you start changing and changing and changing. You get back to this other position again, but you're actually in the third dimension, that is removed, right? So you're going to go back to another kind of a form of traditionalism, which embraces, in my particular view now to simplify things, nature, right? It embraces nature of a certain kind, but it's not going to be the same way, obviously, as it used to be. It'll be more like a spiral. And what do you have to say to that?
Okay, see, you're going to accuse me of abstracting it, but I promise you I'm not. Basically, okay, so the point I'm making here, actually, so yesterday, maybe a couple of days ago, like Ike made a little video talking about hierarchies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in that video, I started talking about different hierarchies, how, for example, like Kevin Samuels talked about high value man, and he talking about the money aspect mostly, right? The ability to kind of succeed in a monetary business realm, right? Now, other people, when they hear that, they might be thinking, well, what about character? So they start to put on their own kind of twist into that, right? What they value, what they think is more important. Now, what I'm talking about, not going back. Now, Jessica's talking, yeah, she made a good point. But I was also including that, what she's talking about. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people, forget women, just people generally, they don't even understand what the hierarchy is. For example, right, women have been, from evolution, millions of years of human evolution, had this idea that they got to find someone better than them. And of course, it makes sense, right? Obviously, they're the ones who get pregnant. When you're pregnant, you need someone who you can trust to be able to look after you, because that's obvious, right? You can't go around looking for wood or firewood or water when you can't really move, etc. Right? So you need someone who you can trust is better than you to be able to kind of take that role when necessary, right? You don't want no weak person. Anyway, the point I'm making here is, so obviously this has gone in their head to kind of want someone better than them. So when they get a PhD, they want a PhD because it's natural, right? It's to want someone better than you, so that it's instinctual. Now, the only way that this can happen, the way she said it, is if people start to understand that you don't have to compete in the same hierarchy. Someone can be better than you in different ways. They can, they don't have to make as much money as you, but they can be on top of a different hierarchy where they can still be competent. The problem with that is most people don't even understand this. So for them to start somehow understand that, to shift their mindset, that's going to take a lot of self-awareness, and human beings are not self-aware. That's the main problem.
Do you know what the cause of? So typically when we look back through evolution and history, women wanted somebody who had more resources than them, because at that time women weren't working. So without the man, there were no resources. There was no lifestyle. Okay. So you had to, even then, back then it was even more competitive, right? Because you had nothing. Now it's the example that I gave. It's not the same, because the women were so focused on finding somebody better than them in order to gain access to the resources. They want those resources for their children, for the lifestyle, etc. Right? Now, these women have the resources. They have the resources there. So it's more the mentality that's still intact, where I want somebody that's doing better than me. However, they only want that because of, again, hierarchy. They want to be the power couple. It's becoming more superficial reasons now, as opposed to survival reasons. But that's why it was happening before. So these
Okay.
going to
Hold on, misogynoir, because we kind of need to rotate around this, because we know how you. I saw you in the chat earlier saying that I like to hear myself talk, and I completely admit it. If also you would admit that you like to hear yourself talk, sir. So let me just couch this particular situation here by saying that what I tend to see also a part of this is this descriptive versus prescriptive thing. Misogynoir is talking about, well, what is the prescription? How can it happen? It is, and I do agree that for people to break down things into, well, there's different hierarchies and this and that, to do all this kind of philosophy thing, by definition, has never been the case. People don't think like that. Okay, part of what I'm trying to do is for the people who have the capacity to think like that, to kind of bring it out so it's clear. If they have the capacity but have not been exposed, okay, make it clear. But still, I know that that's not going to reach a quote-unquote critical mass, as you PhDs like to say. Now, but Jessica is describing quite correctly, giving a descriptive picture of this is what is happening, this is what is going on in their minds, and so on and so forth. And in a certain sense, you guys probably have different goals, whereby, it seems you're more externally focused, Mr. Misogynoir, and you're saying, how can this be done? And it has to be a systemic change. I will even agree with you that, yes, it's not going to happen by a critical mass of individuals, because not all individuals are capable of doing this thing and saying, okay, well, is this particular hierarchy I'm in, and I'm going to switch my emotions to go over, it's not going to happen. Now, let's couch that for the time being, and let's go over to Audra, I believe. What do you have for us?
Oh, all kinds of things. This is a great discussion, and been enjoying myself over in the chat and enjoying listening to Jessica. I have a very rational take from, as from the more, proposing the more feminine perspective. I agree, but I also fully admit to being, I'm an outlier. I'm a sort of naturally masculine woman, I think, is a decent way to discuss it in the context of this this discussion. And I've had some, like I said, I've had some interesting experiences, and also one of the things I would say that I grew up in a rural agricultural community in the southern U.S., southwestern, not far off of what is commonly known as like the Bible Belt. If you've ever heard of that. So I would almost say, but I've also traveled and engaged in a lot of other industries and social groups. And so I think I've seen a bit of how the gradient is as far as what what levels and elements of the culture really do are pushing sort of for the putting aside femininity for women. Where I grew up, certain traditionally masculine traits really aren't considered. They're more, I suppose, they're sort of less gendered in the culture here because, growing up trying to farm, a farm wife that can't handle themselves and change a tire and shoot a snake isn't very useful. So I've grown up around a lot of what I think are genuinely would be termed strong women, right? The kind of the real thing, not the fake Hollywood thing. But they're also very, they're appropriately feminine. My sister is a good example in the younger generation, right? She's a little younger than me, and she is somehow very much bull. So that still exists here. Myself, I felt like me being, I think I'm an example of, what happens when, like, I actually felt I was being pushed to be more feminine, right? Like that would be and I can see how in certain contexts it could be different ways. And I think that would be an interesting discussion of itself, is kind of figuring out what structural and sort of societal stages and contexts tend to push one way or the other, right? So it's almost like there's some kind of balancing act going on there, right? There's something that's out of balance and it causes this push one way or the other. But anyway, so that's a few things I have to say.
That is great. This is, like, I'm just like beaming inside because this is kind of like my kind of thing. Like, oh, you've added another dimension to it. Okay, let's juggle over there. Okay, well, it tends to be the case that there is a particular cohort or particular kind of context that pushes this strong woman thing, but it's fake. It's not the strong woman shooting snakes in a farm. And a strong woman shooting snakes in the farm actually also embraces her femininity, but this fake strong woman over there in Hollywood doesn't even understand that particular kind of blah, 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 blah. You get into the whole, yeah, it's good stuff. But let's go to Sebastian, okay? How do you view everything that has been put on the table so far, and what do you have for us, sir?
Well, thank you, Jessica, for coming here once again to have this conversation with us. I feel like every time I've had to have a conversation with a woman here, being in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, a very, very feminist oriented city, it's hard to have these type of discussions with women in my area without having my car door slammed in my face or hung up on. So I really appreciate you coming in here. It's just very interesting, this whole concept of hypergamy and the female imperative and sustaining what their own desires and goals are for their own lives. But I find that feminism has sold women illusions. And you can see through history of various generations of women before us. Specifically, I don't know her name, but she's the director of Sex and the City, who's 60 years old and has cried out to the public saying that she regrets not starting a family, not starting having children. And other women, particularly in my generation, mid late 30s, who've sacrificed everything to develop their career to end up wishing they had gone the more feminine route. I just have a question with regards to the future of women and their independence. Do you feel that women now having more rights, more privileges, and more freedoms to create their own success in life, do you believe this will nullify hypergamy? Or do you feel that hypergamy will always be a trait of female nature?
Um, So, okay, majority wise, you're never going to get rid of hypergamy. Now, there will be, and I've seen it, there are going to be a few women who, throw hypergamy out of the window and say, I have enough resources. I have what I need to take care of myself. I'm going to get myself a hot young toy boy. I've seen that. However, it doesn't last long. So women will try it, but ultimately, hypergamy or true companionship will always win. Women want the two together. They want the two. So I don't see hypergamy. Hypergamy isn't going anywhere. Hypergamy isn't going anywhere. It's not anytime soon. No.
I see.
The-
Go ahead.
oh no, it's okay.
Now, my eyesight is failing me, but I believe it's Barotiki in the chat over there. What do you have for us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. Go on.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ike Ogiamia, I am very, very, very grateful for you to let me on your show, because this is, I think, the third time I get on a live. I have a channel that is not really about lives and stuff, but it's very interesting. I've had it since 2013, but I've been very active lately. And Jessica X, Miss Jessica X was the first person that allowed me on her chat, on her panel. So I really, really, really enjoy your videos, Mr. Ogiamien. I love your intellect. I mean, this is so refreshing to have somebody so articulate and, I have to say, intelligent as yourself, making this content. And it's a shame that more people are not tuning in, but it doesn't matter, because I tune in and I'm always satisfied. And I wanted to say shout out to you and to Miss Jessica X. I don't know if you remember me, Jessica. You let me in on your panel one time. And I'm so surprised that you grew up in Nigeria. That is wonderful.
I didn't grow up in Nigeria. Born and grew up in London.
Okay, but you lived some time in Nigeria with,
No,
you
just
know,
just holidays. Just holidays.
just holidays. Okay,
Never lived
okay,
out
with
there.
your
No.
parents and stuff. Okay, but you've shaken up the so-called manosphere and all those women that were selling a lot of snake oil to young American women. I think you're doing a very good job, because I feel very sad for Black American women and for Black American men, because when I watch all those channels and what's going on YouTube, I know it's not the full reality of things. It's very sad, the relationship issues that they have to deal with. And I stumble upon you and I see what you're doing, and with Mr. Samuels and everything. It's very good. It's very good, because it's very important for families to exist, and to exist in a very healthy way. Now, I know this is about philosophy. It's about hypergamy. I think that women have a very, very crucial role to play in society. And I personally believe that in the West, people have been watching too much television and going to the movies too much. I mean, they believe that life is a movie or some kind of TV series or something. It's amazing when you listen to people. I mean, they don't understand what reality is, which is why I like what Mr. Samuels is doing, telling them, hey, the clock is ticking, guys. I mean, you can't be playing like that. A woman can be like my mother, who is almost 90 years old. She grew up in a village, in a small village in Africa, walking to school and all that kind of stuff. A woman, imagine. And her dad was a religious guy. So, you hear in the West that they say, oh, masochism, or I don't know, what do they call it? Patriarchy, African people, the woman has no rights or whatever. She was the oldest, she was the firstborn. She went to school, she became a big person. Okay, she had all kind of achievements, but she married my father, who was also from a small place in Africa, and they met in Europe as students, and he was a medical doctor. She was a lawyer and everything. They met when they were young. They got married. They got their children. Okay, like I'm one of them, and they still have a wonderful life. My father's departed. God bless his soul. Whatever, not whatever, but I mean, you know, rest in peace. And they're African people. Okay, they went to school, they came back, they built a good life for themselves, and there was never any conflict. The man knew, I mean, the dad was the dad, the mom was the mom. I don't understand why in the West there is this issue of gender roles. I mean, the dad is the dad, the mom is the mom. You know what I mean? And it doesn't, it's not because the woman is doing her woman thing that she's less than the man. I mean, that's what I understand from the African perspective. I don't know what Mr. Ogiamien thinks, but I know that the way he was brought up in a strong African family,
Yeah, which is also
and
sexist.
excuse me,
There's a lot of
somebody said,
sexism and patriarchy in African family traditions. I don't know if that's a good example. A lot of women complain about the same things. The guys being allowed to play outside, the girls not being allowed to go express themselves fully. So the picture you're painting is a very patriarchal, very male centric kind of opinion. If you put a lot of women out here, they will give you and I've got many friends who given me very different kind of experiences. So I wouldn't say that whole Wakanda story is a good example, my friend.
well, Wakanda is a movie, you see, and the thing
If
is,
you got what I mean, it's a metaphor.
well, in Africa, people watch too much TV too. You got all kind of series and everything. It's totally, First of all, I have to tell you that I'm Generation X. I was born in the '60s, so I'm kind of an old guy. Okay, I'm not a young guy. And when I was a little kid, we didn't have television. We had television in 1972 or 74, I think, with the Munich Olympics. That's when the first TV came in because the government put in television and everything. Women have never been disrespected here in Senegal, where I'm sitting now. I've lived in London. I have, parents and relatives there, property, whatever. In America
You know
also.
about female
But
genital mutilation that is very prevalent in Senegambian culture that happens, child
no, that's not true.
marriages.
Guys,
That's
I
true.
think we're about to go off. I think we were trying to get
Well,
around the
yes, I'm
panel.
going to come back.
So
No,
Yeah.
let me just tell him about that genital mutilation thing. Go on Google and you will see. In Africa, the country with the worst percentage of women genitally mutilated is Egypt. Okay, and Egypt is considered like a white country. All right, Egyptians are considered to be white in America. Okay, it's 90% in Egypt. All right. In Mali, Senegal, West Africa, whatever, it's about 50, 40 in the rural areas. But people don't just go and take their girls. This is a narrative that is from your media, but that's not what's happening here. But let me not just go into this because this is not my show, it's not my platform. The reason why I came on was to thank Mr. Ojamian for the wonderful content that he puts on, and to also shout out to Miss Jessica X, who's wonderful. If I were 30 years younger, I would try to date her and marry her because I know she's looking
This
for a
nigga shooting
husband.
shot.
But I don't think she wants to marry a 55-year-old man.
All right.
And so
Guys,
with that, I'm going to let you go. I'm just listening. I love listening to it. I love listening to Ojamian. And you guys have a nice, wonderful end of the week.
excellent,
goodbye.
excellent. This guy out here shooting his shot in a very slick way. It's like, I don't know if you want or if you don't want, who knows? Hey, right? So I would have to second a lot of the things that he said, which is that, whether it be my grandparents' generation or my parents' generation, it's like, well, men had their sphere of influence and women had their sphere of influence. They had sway and power in there, and no one was. And when it comes to the interfacing of these spheres, there was a protocol as to how it happened. The men did not try to go into the women's zone. The women did not try to go into the men's zone. And there was not as much complaining. I'm coming from the densest part of Africa, right, which is, in terms of Black Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, which is Nigeria. And the female genital mutilation thing, yeah, maybe it happens over there in the north, with Islamic culture and so on and so forth. But it's not some kind of widespread thing where it's like, oh, this is, no. One is too many, and I'm down for the cause to wipe that out. But the narrative that, oh, it's just these women out there, it's, no. I lived it, and I know this is anecdotal, okay? But with anecdotal experience and also with the general knowledge of the statistics, I don't think that the narrative which is painted is warranted. But let's move on to Mr. Eisen Sama. What you got for us?
I was going to let Red go first if he had something he had to do. He asked.
Mr. Red sings the blues. You got the mic.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm only gonna be a few minutes. I like this conversation, man. I really do. I think when it comes down to the society in general, I would say how we got here is the I guess our priorities changed. I would say more or less. We asked ourselves, what are we gonna do as we modernize in our society? And then, women made their own choices, men made their own, men, co-signed on said choices, since we have the women's liberation and sexual liberation. I mean, look, listen, feminism wouldn't have existed if men didn't, co-sign on it. All right. So there was a reason for it. So then on top of that, you have to understand that, priorities change when you put technology and stuff in here. So so that's also another thing we have to understand. So, it was bound to happen at some point, but it's just one of those things. I think, this is why we're kind of messed up. And I forget his name, the African guy. Yeah, no, he's right. We do consume a lot of media, and I know this because I work in the media. So it's more or less like, well, I actually looked this up. Americans consume like what, 75-80% of entertainment, and 50% of that is actually porn. So when you do the math, so yeah, man.
Interesting. So Eisen, what do you have to add to that?
Yes. First, it's my first time actually getting to be on your panel. First new subscriber, so thanks for allowing me up here. My thing was, I noticed earlier when asked, it was about let me get it together, that Jessica felt that everything could be corrected as far as with the dynamic of everything. To me, as far as what I can see, because as Red was bringing up about women getting the vote, the balance of privilege is heavily in their favor, and going along with how women just generally like to do things. I noticed earlier she said, women wanted, because of the hypergamy, they wanted resources as well as, protection as well. But from what we see, to me, women want everything and no actual consequences or having to actually earn it. They want it for free. So if women have this type of privilege dynamic, and as we all know and admitted to, that they're not going to give it up, how do you see it being corrected? When to me it's at critical mass. The only thing I can see that can correct it is a total breakdown and blow up of everything that exists now, to where you have to start completely over.
Go ahead, Jessica.
So my thing is companionship. Okay, so when you look at how many women are single at an older age, how many women are single, at a younger age, it's not so important, but it's when women start getting older and they're single, that's when the realization hits in. That's when the realization kicks in, I should say. And so, although you're saying you think it would never change, here's the thing: women would vote with men, because I know people like to say, women got the right to vote and everything went downhill because if women vote one way, there are always going to be some men who vote with them, so they're going to be the majority. Once you start having that majority group, right, of women who are single with no one there, and it's men have to come in on this as well. It can't just be women. It can't be women alone. But when you have that group of women who are single and they have no companionship, because women are, more so than men, women are creatures of companionship. We're very social. We need that companionship. And so when you start having all of these women who are alone and they realize that in order for them not to be alone, they need to get on to a man's page, right? They're going to do so. And as I said before, right now, we're in the initial stages. This is an experiment. We're only very early on into this experiment. So as time goes on and younger women are already seeing it, we'll use it against each other. We're going to say, I don't want to end up like you. You're 50, you've got no man, you're all alone. We see it. So when women of younger generations start looking at the older women and saying, okay, this is their advice, this is what they've done, but they're still single and alone, you're going to start realizing, okay, do you know what? The advice that they're giving out doesn't quite work. And you only need to look at channels like Kevin Samuels, where he is giving out that advice, and women are flocking over there. They're flocking over there because they know that the current advice doesn't work. They know that they need to go around to a more traditional way of thinking if they want a man.
Excellent point. Excellent retort. An excellent point from Eisen Sama. Did you have anything to? Was that a satisfactory response?
I guess it was pretty satisfactory. I guess with me being me, Jessica and I talked multiple times. I really don't see it because of the simple fact. The point is that these women, their minds have been made up to stay in this state, and at that point, whenever they're old, I see it not being reversible.
Okay. So fair points all around. Now we're gonna go to Jonathan, but first let me read some super chats. I think I missed one from Red Sings the Blues. He says, he put another $2. He says one more for the cause, and you guys should go check out Red Sings the Blues channel. He does great interviews. Okay, simple podcast style interviews. Okay, he's gonna be the next Joe Rogan. There. I said it. Okay, so and we have Officer Faulkner in the building. He says, "Woo, ladies and gentlemen." Okay, and what's up, everyone? Okay. Check out his channel too, Officer Faulkner in law enforcement. Apparently he carries a nice knife and a revolver around, and don't come at him. He'll cut your hand off, or he'll break your leg, or he'll shoot you. So, ladies and gentlemen, what else do we have? I think I missed a couple other ones here. Let me, as I scroll through here, and then we'll go to Jonathan. Thank you very much for the $2, $2 Canadian dollars. Says Jessica, this was a trap.
Agreed.
Do you feel entrapment, Jessica? Do you feel like I trapped you here?
No.
Okay. Excellent. So, point being, if it feels like a trap, it's because we're having philosophical conversations where everything is on the table and I haven't seen anyone get all irrational and silly. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you don't get all your points out on the table in a philosophical conversation. You just allow other people to say things and you move on. So how about the genital mutilation of men? Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, circumcision and so on and so forth. You're not going to get much complaining, generally speaking, from men about stuff. So, and then again, the amount of Q people. Do you know who knows what Q people are? Is that questionable people, or was that supposed to be IQ? Who knows what's being said here? The amount of Q people is disproportionately overrepresented in the conversation. It's a trap. Okay. You're being warned, Jessica, but I don't see any traps going on here. It's been rather balanced. So, first of all, Jonathan, and then Lion Legal. What you have to add, Jonathan?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I did have a longer point to make, but I'll just leave that for potentially later. But I wanted to point out. Do you ever watch Shark Tank by any chance?
Yes, I've
No.
seen that. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the interesting dynamics I always pay attention to on Shark Tank, if you ever notice the difference between Lori Greener and I think that's how you say her last name, and Barbara Corcoran, right? So Lori is very feminine. I mean, you can see it the way she behaves, the way she talks. And it's always interesting to me when I watch Shark Tank how Lori actually uses her femininity to get into the deals that she likes, and kind of in a way you can actually see how she manipulates the other men on the the other male sharks, right? Just using her femininity. Meanwhile, Barbara always feels like the need to be overly competitive with them, and usually you'll notice how they snake her out of deals, right? Especially when they're working together. And I always find that like a very interesting. I've pointed this out to a few people, and now that I pointed it out, every time they watch Shark Tank, they come back and say like, "Wow, you're so right." It's just an interesting dynamic, right? Like I think a lot of times women don't realize that their femininity is actually pretty. It's actually like Jessica said earlier. It's actually a pretty powerful way to kind of get what you want. And by the way, you'll notice the difference also. They're both married, right? And obviously they're both married to men who earn significantly less than them, right? But one thing you'll notice is that Barbara, she's always like, she always has these comments that she makes where you can clearly tell it's like, man, this woman really needs to get laid. Like, whereas Lori seems like a pretty happy, pretty, just she's always very happy, very sweet. And I always notice that difference. I don't know if you guys ever, pay attention to that. But it's always pretty interesting. It's always an interesting dynamic to me.
Interesting top item that you brought up there, which has kind of been said before, which is at some point we mentioned that there is a general denigration of femininity by feminism. Okay, and I think that it starts with these brainy types, and again, talking from the education end of things, that are outside of the norm. Maybe you're more masculine women and so on and so forth, or maybe they're not as pretty. They don't feel like they can play that particular game, or they don't want to put in the effort to play the feminine stuff. They see it as weak or whatever. And then it's like, oh, feminine is bad. Feminine is a social construct. The real thing, okay, is the power dynamics between men and women, and men are keeping all the happiness in the cubicle. Go to the cubicle. That's where the happiness is. And then it turns not to work out in the end. Okay, I don't know if Jessica, you had anything to say about that, and then we'll go to Lion Legal.
I mean, okay, so I'm not familiar with Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Over here, I think we have our own version of that program, but I'm not familiar with the women that you spoke about. But yeah, I said it before, femininity as a woman is your biggest tool, a weapon, if you want to call it that. You have to utilize your femininity. And in regards to people saying that gender roles are social constructs, there have been studies that have proven that even when you remove, I'm not sure what country it was. I'm not sure if it was Norway or Sweden. Anyway, they did a study, right, from kids who were really small, and they tracked these kids over years. And what they made sure to do is that everything that they put in front of those children was gender neutral. Yeah, we have Dragons Den over here. Everything that they put in front of these children was gender neutral, and they wanted to say, like, listen, is it nature or nurture? Are we nurtured into our roles, or is it biological? And so everything put in front of them was gender neutral. And when it came to the careers that they chose, when it came to what they, just their hobbies, everything that they prefer to do, they still split off into the traditional gender roles. And that shows that it's not a social construct. It's something that's innate within us. It's biological. We're built that way. We're literally, if you look at our brains, the way our brains are structured, We are we're made to be different. We're made to fulfill different purposes and be attracted to different roles within society. That's not a construct. That's just how it is. That's how we're made. And as Audra came up here, and there will always be outliers. Outliers are a natural thing. There are always going to be women who are more masculine. There are going to be men who are more feminine. But just the ratios that we're seeing right now, that's unnatural.
Gotcha. And Lion Legal, sir, welcome once again to the panel, as usual in these parts. What you got for us, sir?
Hey, how's it going on? Long time no see. I think that the name of the guy in that super chat is seems opposite. Pretty accurate. Apart from that, I've noticed that studies have stated people who go into careers, like the women that go into high-powered careers, seem to put dating aside until they start to get until the late 20s, etc. And sometimes in the like the market, the dating market, etc., it can be difficult for them to now find a partner. How can it be that somebody who is completely consumed by their career can actually find a partner at the same time? So Jessica have like a reaction to that query.
Your audio was not 100% clear to me.
I could try to
Please,
reiterate.
Okay.
So basically, he's saying, well, women going after high-powered careers put dating and relationship aside. Okay, they put looking for a husband aside, and how can they, in very simple ways, then afterwards find a partner? How can they how can they do both at the same time? This is something
Right.
that Kevin Samuel tends to say. Okay, so the second part is more accurate, which is how can they do both at the same time? That's the real question.
Yes.
And Kevin,
Yes.
okay. And Kevin Samuels tends to say, and he tends to split it into races and so on and so forth, and say, well, there are other races of women who can tend to do both. That Dr. Singh, the woman, right, the female doctor over there in the cardiology department, she has a husband, okay, and she went to the Mayo Clinic and did this, that, and the other. That other women seem to be able to do it. How do they do it? How can they do it? What are your reactions to that, Jessica X?
To me, the answer is very simple. You do both at the same time. I don't feel that that's a hard dynamic. I mean, okay, we could go to the extremes and say if you're working very, very long hours, it might be harder, then just cut back on hours slightly. But for most people who are working regular jobs, even if you go in at 9 in the morning and you don't leave until 7 at night, you still have time to manage the two. I don't see how that would be a clash, in my opinion. You only wouldn't make time for dating if it's not a priority to you. If it's a priority to you, you're going to make time for it.
Okay, so are you saying that like the women in those studies have decided not to date at all, even though they have the time to date, or is there something underlying there? Is it that there might be an issue in regards to their value, or market value as far as dating and attraction is? Are you saying that?
I'm not sure which studies in particular you're referring to, but it could be a combination of things. Okay, so you can be unsuccessful if you're not making dating a priority, right? If your career is taking priority and you're not effectively balancing the two, then one of them is going to, take a back seat, and that tends to be dating. On the other hand, you could have a woman who is making time to date, but her expectations when she is dating, her expectations are unrealistic. So there's a multitude of reasons that it could be. It could be that she's just not an attractive woman, so she's going to struggle. She's not taking care of herself because she's putting so much focus into her career. There's various reasons, and you have to sort of, decide based on the individual which one of those reasons it is.
Absolutely, that's a good point. I would also like to ask you something. If a person like creates a channel, etc., and they feel, let's say they're pretty private, they don't want to get on camera, do you think that would hinder the channel being able to grow naturally, or do you think that would not be an issue? What is your perspective on is there a reason that you chose not to open yourself up to the YouTube world, etc.?
I'd say to a certain extent, I already have. And the reaction that I've had just from, the small amount that I have put myself out there, I have there are extreme reactions to me. There are people that like me and there are people that hate me. And I'm not opening myself up to the risks that come with being hated. I'm just not.
Sure. Too many Sims then.
She has a picture. She has a real picture on, her channel. I don't
Who is that
understand.
talking?
It's a simp that tried to marry her earlier.
Oh.
I have been married. I do that.
Get him.
But what I'm saying is, she's got her pictures. She puts different pictures. You can see who she is. I can tell what she is. If I run into her on the streets of London, I would recognize.
After that statement, I understand exactly why you don't want to go on camera now.
You see the way he said, if I run into her, meaning he's already planning, like, GPS tracking the eyes.
Okay. And Kaizo and Lion Legal and also Baratike, I hope you, and as you can tell from the laughs, right? We're having a good time in here, right? So in case anyone out there in the audience is thinking that, this, whether or not anyone, to the degree to which anyone believes what they're saying, it's still, this is just how men talk, right?
I'm having a great time. I'm having a great time, Mr. Oyaman.
I can tell.
And Jessica is a wonderful woman. I am very impressed by this champion.
You have a good VPN, Jessica.
Oh boy.
Okay. Now, let's rotate back, and it'll be Kaizo, and then to Audra. Okay. So Kaizo, if you misogynoir, if you were to stick with your point about the systemic solutions, right?
Right.
Let me ask you a direct question. What does it look like? In other words, you say, okay, you're telling Jessica and everyone else, okay, well, it's not going to happen individual by individual. Yes, some individuals will have to change, so on and so forth. I'm over here doing things too that, and I agree with you on that level. And I'm also quite intrinsically motivated, as you know, so I don't really care. I don't really care what happens to the masses, okay? I'm not a masses kind of guy at all. I'm intrinsically motivated, plus I'm introverted, plus I just do my own thing. I'm an island unto myself, okay? I know that that's a blind spot and so on and so forth, and but I just live my own life. I don't care what happens out there, okay? However, is it the fact that you're saying it is not going to happen in a individual by individual level, which I agree with, or are you just saying that it is not possible at all because the amount of energy, okay, that is required in order to bring about the systemic change? So is there can you give a description of the systemic change that it would require, and some kind of a notion of how much energy, and that way we can judge the likelihood of it coming about?
Okay, calm. Anyway, so I'll start by answering Lion Legal's question first of all. I don't think Jessica answered it properly, but basically, the kinds of women that tend to find these guys and get married and get the high level certifications, they tend to be from cultures that tend to promote this. Like the parents are on their case all the time. Like, are you married yet? Like by 23 years old, yeah, the parents like, where's your husband? Right? People like the Hindus and the Sikhs, they tend to have like arranged marriages, or at least pseudo arranged marriages. They put them together in a little fishbowl and they said, you know what? Yeah, you better say hi to Prita, and then she says hi, and then whatever, right? They tend to kind of create an artificial environment for them to actually meet each other. It's not individuals choosing like, yo, I'm gonna do this, and some of them do that, but that's not why there's a trend that you can separate between different races and different groups. That individuals will always do individual things, but groups do things because of culture that's instilled. So the Jews, the Hindus, some Africans, etc., they kind of had that culture instilled by their parents that kind of force it. Now, in the Western world, a lot of us, especially in certain regressive cultures, I ain't going to name them, but those people, they tend to have cultures that don't really have this. It's far more individualistic. You know, you're by yourself. They come from single parent household that don't instill these kinds of concepts in them. So they're far less likely to actually have these things instilled. They tend to have cultures that tell them, you know what, you got to get the bag, because the bag is more important to them than the other thing, because the other thing never worked out to begin with a lot of the times. Again, not all the times, but enough times that you don't have that critical mass. Now, to answer your question, Ike, yeah, here's a problem, right? It's like this, yeah. If I know, yeah, that if something don't work out, I can get the government to pay me my money. What am I going to do? Am I going to work hard, or am I just going to be like, rah? It's the same situation why like little poor white boys in North England, right? Same with the poor white black boys. They tend to remain in poverty. When there's a system that allows you to kind of fail but still not be okay, you're not going to work that hard. It's just, there's no motivation behind you. Now, you're going to get individuals always who are going to somehow overcome that energy. But most people who are born poor, guess what? They remain poor because there's a safety net. Now, so when it comes to a system, how do we actually find solutions? The only solutions out here is you have to create a negative energy system that compensates for that previous energy. So a simple example here is you create a system that people want to be part of, a game. You create a hierarchy game that people want to play, right? For example, a game whereby you want to make sure that you want to get a high value man. So what do? You create like a little system or some kind of like institution, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care, right? Now, for you to participate in it, you can't have regressive behavioral attributes. You can't come from having multiple baby fathers or baby mothers, etc. You're completely exempt from it. No way for you to redeem yourself. You're just off the market. What does that mean? That means people who want to have that lifestyle are not going to end up engaging in that kind of behavior that leads to that system. That's just an example, right? So once you create these kind of rules and structures, and you make it interesting, you make it what people actually want. You set up the systems and the rules. People are generally gonna fall in line. That's it. People respect systems when there's a consequence to that system. But when the system don't have no consequence, people are gonna do what they want to do. Because, for example, right now, back in the old days, guys used to say, okay, I want myself a virgin. Right now there's this movement. They don't care. You could have slept with 200 niggas, right? 500. It don't matter, right? It's not a contemplation. What that means is, it's a system is so free that there is no kind of there's no one that, checking the market to make sure the quality. There's no quality control. That's exactly it, right? When we got food coming from European Union, we got quality control to make sure the food's of a certain quality. If it's not, it's capped. But stuff from America, now that we left the European Union, it's going to be some stuff that's going to give us cancer, right? The quality control don't exist basically in the SMV. So that's it. You add a quality control system, you create the rules in the games. It don't really matter what rules, right? I can tell you now, but it's boring. Just set the system up in check. People will self-regulate themselves.
Okay. Let's go to Audra. Now, unless you had something to...
Just before you say that, I would like to ask an important question.
Okay, go ahead.
Why the hell are you not on Clubhouse app yet?
Clubhouse, very good. Clubhouse is only right now on iOS, and I've been an Android guy this whole time. Trust me, I actually checked, and I wanted to get in, and I found out it's only an iPhone thing. I don't know if it's worth it to do a switch.
Like, you're rich, man. You're rich.
Ike is my dude. Ike is my dude. I'm an Android man.
But the point is, I can
be honest. This guy is beginning to scare me now.
You guys are having too much fun, okay? You guys need to calm down a little bit. But I will be looking into it. I'm going to research to see when or if or not they're going to open it up to the Android market, or I could just get an iPhone. That's not a big deal. You don't have to be rich to afford an iPhone.
I would just say the thing I love about it is that you get a lot of black professionals on there, people that have founded tech companies, multi-millionaires, and they're all talking about how to now invest more, how the black community can build infrastructure in the tech industry and other industries. And you would not really have the opportunity to access those kind of people just like that and to speak directly to them. So I think, you know, for like someone in your space and with what you bring to, like, you know, to YouTube and the society, I think that is, like, you know, it might be a good thing for you to even network. But that's an aside. I don't want to give like a free plug, but yeah.
Okay, now let's go to Audra real quick, and then I believe someone else just joined. Is that Belinda? Am I reading that correctly? My bad. I got eyesight issues. But can you say something to the new person that just got added to the panel? Just to make sure that we got you.
Or the new person.
The new person.
I need to say something. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was I was trying to read the chat. Distracted. Sorry. Go ahead.
Belinda, can you say something? Just want to check your audio. I believe. Yes, and if you have the stream in the background, you're gonna need to turn it off and only just stay within StreamYard. If you're listening to YouTube, don't listen on YouTube. Listen here on the StreamYard. And if that is you, Belinda, I just wanted to check your audio. So can you say something again?
Hello, Belinda.
I believe that she's listening on YouTube. But anyways, Audra, can you you know, what do you have to add so far? You've heard what everyone has said. You've heard what Misogynoir has said about, even though I don't think Misogynoir answered my question, okay? But, you know, that's fine. He just reiterated the point that people are not going to do certain things. But I want a how. This is me asking from an engineering standpoint now, like, okay, you mentioned systems whereby other people or other cultures, you know, in the microcosm kind of enact these kinds of things that you're talking about. Okay, arranged marriages, you know, you make sure that people are held responsible to certain standards, blah, blah, blah. But you have not said how it would be imposed upon those whom do not have it. But that aside, Audra, what do you have to say? And then we'll go to Belinda.
That's a fun question. That's a question that could go on for a long time, but I'll pick an area. I do think that, you know, in terms of, you know, looking for solutions, I think one of the elements that's necessary in order to find the actual sort of viable best solutions is to narrow down areas where the variables are that will probably end up being part of those solutions. And I personally don't have a grand solution proposal. I think, personal opinion here, I think a lot of people throw about what I call bumper sticker solutions, which sound good and they get a lot of people riled up, and, you know, and this is not unique to this issue. It's across a lot of issues. And I think when I think really, you know, something like this is a complex issue. You've got a lot of variables at play. We can look and we can point and say, and, you know, a lot of people don't believe it when they say, it's like, I agree that the majority of men and the majority of women fit, you know, the best direction for them, right? Just like you guys have been saying. Right. It really, the traditional masculine, feminine stereotypes are there for a reason, right? They are naturally occurring. But I would also say, you know, that if it was a perfect smooth system, when you just had a sort of what we've seen in the past, almost a very strict dichotomy. If it was a perfect system, it wouldn't have had the friction to be sort of unseated in the first place, right? You know, there was a burr under the saddle somewhere. So I think in seeking a new solution, I do think it needs to be look at the past. I think that's, you know, we've got kind of the big part, right? And moving on. As far as actually making a change, right? So that was kind of your question. I got a bit off there. I think some elements that will be component, I think, and it was touched on a bit, I think, earlier. One element is going to be determining what type of person, whether that's a person's nature, energy versus a person's position within let's say a person's position within a natural hierarchy, or a person's position within an artificial or civil hierarchy, as I call them. What type of person is a particular subgroup going to listen to, right? Because if you want a long-term fix, if you have, you know, a leader from the, let's say, natural masculine hierarchy trying to tell every subgroup, right, listen to me, that's where you get the problems we have now, right? So maybe 75% of people are going to listen to that person, right? They're gonna they assign some authority and trust to that person. Okay, well, in order to have a long-term solution and actually, smooth the waters, you're going to have to determine for those other groups, right? The ones that go, I'm not going to listen to you, right?
Mhm.
Who do they listen to, right? And I think that's something that I think it's an interesting problem that isn't often addressed, because I find that a lot of the discussions of this issue, they tend to gravitate towards sort of ad hominem. Oh, those darn feminists. Oh, those lesbians. Oh, those insert label here, right? And it's not that the criticisms often put in those are necessarily invalid. It's just that targeting them as outside and just going, well, they're just stupid, right? They listen to someone, right? Most people are, I'll be honest, most people are followers. Most people are looking for, most feminists are influenced by someone, right? There's a, and they can be shifted. So I think that's kind of going to be, the answer that I'm going to bring here.
Let me
But I think that's an interesting problem to look at.
Hold on,
and a place to
Misogynoir.
go to find solutions.
Yeah, hold on, Miss Belinda. Are we squared away now? Can you say something? You're muted, or maybe you're not muted, but either way, we can't hear you. Can you say something, Belinda? Okay, so Jessica X, any comments so far on any of the things that have been said? Because or do you agree with my particular construction here, which is, okay, you're giving some kind of a descriptive thing. You're saying, here's what's going on. Here's what might happen within the lifetime of one particular individual. They will get older. They will have to turn back. Some younger people are looking onto this scenario and they're saying, hey, you don't have, you've ignored nature. You've ignored your feminine nature and so on and so forth. And I don't want to go down this path as well. And then on the other hand, you have people who are talking about this, the prescriptive systematic solutions, right? And to me, in my way of thinking, these are just like parallel tracks where there's no need for one side to be arguing about the other, okay? And the people over here who are trying to find solutions systemically need to be talking about that, while the other people who are just talking, giving a descriptive picture and, laying out the landscape and the storyline, well, then that they're not necessarily wrong and there's no real conflict. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, right? But what do you have to say about what has been said so far since you last spoke?
Yeah, I think when we're looking at it as in the prescription, the remedy for the whole thing, that's it, again, I think it was Audra that said it. There's so many nuances, there's so many variables that you're never going to have a one size fits all remedy. You're just not, okay? My thing is, if I'm speaking to people, listen, if we're not going to have, like I say, an overall remedy, then we need to start saying, okay, forget what's going on for you. I'm going to change my circumstances as an individual. I can't change society. As one person, I'm not going to really affect the grand scheme of things, and I can't change society, but I can change the outcomes and my life. That's what I do have control over. And so that's why I'm saying I'm going at it on an individual level, giving a remedy for that person, their situation and their problems, one by one by one by one by one. And I'll keep doing that over and over again.
Okay, so I understand that kind of a motivation because that's kind of how I roll as well. The way I tend to put it is I don't really care for critical mass type stuff, right? And it's not a question of not having that as an external goal. Is that I tend not to have external goals at all, and I'm not going to fool myself into psychologically being a different type. I am the type that I am, and I'm going to live my own life, and I'm going to have my own fun, and to hell with the rest of it. Now, to go to Jonathan, okay, do you have anything to add vis-a-vis what has been said so far? And then after Jonathan, we're going to go back to Sebastian.
So what's exactly is the question, like?
Oh, if you had anything to add, or if not, if you wanted to pass, and if you're just having a good time sipping Mai Tais or whatever, then we can go to Sebastian.
Yeah, I didn't have anything specific to add. This has just been a fun conversation. So
excellent. Are you coding back there?
I am actually.
Anyways,
Is that Jonathan Barronville?
It is, yes.
Oh, okay, it's good to finally talk to you.
Nice talk to you too. I'm not going to propose to you though.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out your GPS right now.
I was hoping to get 2 in one day.
he does it differently. He's tracking you down. Sebastian. Okay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, great topic, great conversation. I feel like other women who share Jessica's sentiment have a real advantage on the dating market when it comes to choosing men of pretty much any generation, as seen in this chat. I think going forward, a lot of success is going to come your way, Jessica, and hopefully we can all hear back from you again on Ike's domain. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank
Excellent.
you. I definitely come back for a follow-up at some point. Yeah.
Hey Jessica,
Excellent.
I hope you never cam up. Okay, don't ever do it.
He's trying to keep Jessica all to himself. Anyway, so
is it Jonathan dropping negs? Are you dropping negs?
Now he's basically saying that he's gonna make a deep fake of Jessica and then make his own channel through the deep fake. So he's warning her.
I think you're thinking too much.
Don't give me any ideas.
Yeah. I would like to ask something actually. Are you going to close the chat or something? Right?
Oh no, go ahead. We are approaching the time limit of that'll be
having a conversation before, and there were some people saying that first of all, I think the way that we're talking about this issue is the right way. Trying to figure out how we can come to the same objective, being able to keep the family together and strengthen the nuclear family. There were some people that I've heard who have stated, well, you don't need a man in the household. A woman is enough to give the child the insight into how to be a good person because they can give the child values. My argument would be that as a young black man, especially like a young black kid, you need a father figure in that household in order for you to have an example set as to how to behave, how to deal with the world, how to deal with discrimination. You need a strong parental figure who is a man, because if you're a man as well, then that is where you'll get a lot of your direction from. What's your view on that, Jessica?
Yeah, I'm not for single parent homes, and I'm not for them either way, because I've heard people promote surrogacy and being a single father and doing things that way. I believe it takes two people to have a child for a reason, and both parents play a crucial role in that child's development, their mindset, and bringing the child up. I believe both parents have an equally important role in that, and so yeah, I'm not for single parent households. Is never something that I'd advocate or promote. No.
And I will completely empathize. I mean, I don't want anybody to think that, we are trying to say it's bad, etc. Absolutely not, because it exists, it happens, etc. I think that obviously the government does things to encourage behavior which it feels will be helpful for people. For example, they'll give tax breaks to married families and give a lot of economic incentive. And they're doing that because they feel from their own data that this will be a lot more helpful. That's why they do it. And I do tend to agree. I think that if you have two parents in the household, they can share the cost of that household. It's easier for you to buy a house because you've got the two, the pay from both of the parents that can now go on to the down payment of the house and be able to now get that property or buy a business, or God forbid, if they're sick, the parents will now have a lot more income now to spend on the bills, like the medical bills, because in the States, for example, in America, the number one reason a lot of people go broke is because of the medical bills. That's the reason. So I think having two people there to bear the brunt is helpful. However, I completely empathize with people who don't have that and we are not at all trying to say that it's a bad thing, because obviously nobody chooses what situation they're in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jessica.
No, I think somebody has a playback, or I can
Yeah,
hear all sorts sound.
Belinda is back, and she's been struggling with her audio.
Could be a troll.
Hey, Belinda.
Can you say something, Belinda?
Definitely a troll.
On the bright side, Ike, you've reached 11 dislikes. Jessica's doing her thing over here. This is great.
Yeah, this was the plan. The plan was to bring out the the smoke out of the woodwork, and we all know that hate watching is sometimes more reliable, okay, than actually people who like you, right? Like, because people love that hate. People are like, well, I'm going to get my Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to hate. So thank you very much, Jessica, for doing it. And for those of you whom are new, there must be people who are new, given the amount of dislikes and so on and so forth. Please go ahead and subscribe, okay? Like, subscribe, bell button, all, right? It's a great place to come back again and to see what kinds of conversations that we have over here. As I said, we are about being better, doing better. Things are kept simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive. It's about giving free reign. Okay, as I said, I'm a openness type. I'm an artist type and a philosopher type. Okay, anything could be said here. Like, you can say whatever you want. Okay, and it'll be fine. But you will only be held to the standards of rationality, right? And so that's the only thing here that's the only standard. Otherwise, the show will get completely derailed, right? So, Belinda, one more time, can you say something? Okay.
I want to offer my idea of a solution, because that was the question from Mr. Oganien. In my opinion, we're talking about the United States mainly, which is the leading culture product diffuser in the world. Because the people are tube-centered, I think that one of the solutions would be to rewrite TV series and movies scripts in order to integrate this new philosophy. It's very important. I mean, people watch TV. I mean, every time you watch, like those lives or videos or whatever, people always make reference. This is one thing I noticed on Black YouTube and even white YouTube. They always make reference to such and such series, and even in this live, somebody said, "Oh, do you remember this whatever movie, whatever?" And Jessica was like, "I don't know about this thing," and they always make reference to movies and that they've seen. So people are totally brainwashed. They've been brainwashed since the 50s. So what we need to do is we need to have new writers, okay, to rewrite the scripts for all the TV series and the movies. It's going to take about 20 years, 25 years, and then we're going to have a new attitude. Unfortunately, with the new administration, we're going to have guys going into women's bathrooms. We're going to have, it's
Hey,
total
man,
confusion.
those are women. If they say they're women, they're women.
Say what?
No, don't worry. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm just saying, confusion in the genders, and I mean, it's insanity. I mean, it's getting worse. I mean, it's
channel's gonna get flagged. This line of conversation has to end.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just I mean, look, see what I'm talking about? I mean,
it's true. Yeah, we are on a platform, and yes, you are correct. Your point is noted, though, in terms of the art side of things.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so that's all. That's all. We need to rewrite the scripts, and so the people are gonna, untune. It's like a re-brainwashing, de-brainwash and re-brainwash, because it's just that's it, man. There's no other solution. As long as they're gonna have TV series and movies that are a total fantasy. I mean, Mr. Samuels had a show the other day where he had an interview of a woman who used to write for Cosmopolitan. Everything was fake. Everything was fake for decades. You see, that's how people get brainwashed.
Okay, so we're going to start winding things down, okay? Because it seems to me that we have been here for a while, and let me see here, okay? We have Belinda here again. I don't know if this is a troll or not. It started to strike
Obviously a
me as
troll.
such. Obviously a troll. Okay,
Gotta be a
so
troll.
Jessica, what have you done? Just kidding.
Jessica is lovely. Jessica is
Oh,
wonderful, and
oh,
and
really?
plus she's Nigerian. As a Senegalese guy, I'm very fond of Nigerian women because they're
Oh,
very
okay.
entrepreneurial.
Tell us why. Tell us why you're so
Je
fond.
n'arrête pas, je n'arrête pas. Jessica, elle est
You have some experiences?
Jessica, elle est très très belle, elle est très intelligente,
Non, ne fais pas
elle est
ça. Ne fais
fantastique.
pas ça, mon frère, ne fais pas ça.
He said
C'est la
Jessica
vérité,
X
c'est la vérité. She's lovely.
is intelligent and fantastic.
Yes,
Okay,
and
so
she's lovely.
let's wind things down with this question, okay? And we're gonna start with Jonathan, Lion Legal, and then our Senegalese friend, and then Audra, and then the great Massage Noir, whom I think is a very skilled troll, but I don't know. Maybe he's a troll, maybe he's not. But he's
The name keeps
either way,
changing.
it's entertaining. And yes, yeah,
The
yeah, exactly.
dehumanization of the black man has continued to a point where I'm being considered a troll. This is the
Ooh. This is the new, yeah. This is the new, oh my God, I don't even know what to say. But here's the question, okay? And we're still going to start with Jonathan, Mr. Coder out there, right? Are there any aspects of the sexual revolution, free love, if you will, to the degree to which it still remains in the society? Are there any aspects of that you find appealing, okay? Aspects of the sexual revolution that you find appealing personally, or perhaps you have benefited from, Mr. Jonathan, and then we'll go in this, manner to Mr. Lion Legal, our Senegalese friend Audra, and then Massage Noir, and we'll wind up with Jessica X.
That is a wonderful question. Honestly, off the top, I can't think of any way that. I mean, are you saying the sexual revolution as it applies to women, or just everyone in general?
To both. I think generally speaking, it's more it's more of a woman thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are you out there benefiting from the free? I don't know the algorithm as well as Massage Noir knows. I don't know the right things to say or not, but I don't even know how to be jocular about this. But what do you think about it, or is it a question of no, or and you haven't even considered it, and then we can move on to Lion Legal aspects of the sexual revolution that appeal to you or you have benefited from?
My current version, the current version of myself, no. I think there's a previous version of myself where I was more aligned with a lot of the we shall say liberal views of the world and whatnot, where I thought certain things were beneficial, but I've come to realize the hard way that at least I've thought, maybe if I think about this a little harder, but yeah, I don't see any way. In fact, I mean, even in my personal life, like for example, I find that I exclusively try to date conservative women now. Like I'm actually more specific about that now.
Exactly.
Just because I find, and I'm going to use this word that I love using, but I find a lot of liberal women nowadays, at least from a dating perspective, not in general, but from a dating perspective, I find them quite insufferable. And the kind of just the constant, even in, I'm in the tech world, right? Like you have a lot of women who are thriving, right? Like, they're getting paid high salaries and living great lives here in Atlanta. Like they're living in Buckhead and whatnot. And you date some of these women, right? And I'm saying this from experience, right? And they still feel like victims. And, and again, I understand, the very aspect that you're a Black person in America, there's a lot that comes with that, et cetera, et cetera. But the point I'm making is that the mindset drives a lot of these women to remain in this, just basically to not hold themselves accountable for anything, right? And then at the same time, project themselves as, these perpetual victims. And it gets annoying. And let's just say, let's just leave it at that. So it gets pretty annoying. So I just pretty much focus. For me in my personal life, I find that I'm dating a lot of, actually exclusively. Like, in fact, I have questions that I'll ask women just to kind of like root out, like, is this person a feminist? Is it? And again, in other aspects of life, I don't care, right? Like in the workplace, etc. But when it comes to dating, like that's so important to me because it's just I don't even want to deal with it. If that makes sense.
Excellent. Yes, I'm also, I'm not in what you would call tech, but engineering, more on the physical side of things. But definitely yes, because I like intelligent women. I like intelligence writ large, just generally speaking. So I've kind of dabbled in those waters, and then I do tend to find that whole thing of now tends to come out the certain kinds of abstract complaining about this, that, and the other, and it's a big turnoff. Anyway, so Mr. Lion Legal, any aspects of the sexual revolution that A, appeal to you, or B, you have benefited from? Take it.
Okay, well, it'll be difficult for me to answer this question because the wave, I think, came in the 1960s, 1970s, with Woodstock, America, and all of the pop culture there. So it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what we would be, benefiting from now, given that it's gone through several iterations and changed over time. However, I think that if anybody wants to, wants to experience anything that they can, please feel free. You want to live in if you want to be the head of a single parent household, absolutely, that's your right. What I would advise young Black kids to do, especially young Black men, because I'm a man, is that if you date, you always have to look at the end goal. If I have a kid, do I think that the person that I'm dating now is going to have the same values that I have? Are they going to want to raise the kid the way that I would like to raise the kid, etc.? If anything happens, is she going to be able to instill in the kid the values and ideas that I have, essentially? So what guys have to do is that they have to value themselves and have enough esteem that they don't simply date anybody just because they are there. You have to be very intentional about anybody you spend time with, because that person can help you build and can help you be successful, or they can destroy you if you're not careful. So I don't look at it as just an endeavor that is there for fun enjoyment. I think that I always look at it as, if this person potentially becomes part of the family, who fit into the family. So I think it's a very serious thing, and it's not like as it's come to be seen today. It's not a just something for quick enjoyment. That, however, that is my view. Anybody can do what they want to. If they want to date 50 people at the same time, that's your prerogative. But have a slightly different perspective.
Excellent point. Shout out to the Fool. You've been dropping $2 super chats, getting your point across. I definitely appreciate it. Okay, Dr. Thunder as well says, $5. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Ike, for your channel's continued growth. This is critical conversation for the continuation of the health of the Black family, he says. So, and again, we will be doing a monthly show, Dr. Thunder and I, called Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder, and we get downright practical. We get how we do things. Dr. Thunder is another PhD out there in University of Ohio, one of the big universities out there, doing his thing. Okay, he's a tenured professor. All right, and I am, or whom I am, and to the degree to which we can help people, we are out there to do that, even though I don't care. Now, let's talk about Mr. Our Senegalese friend. Any aspects, okay, of the sexual revolution that you are benefiting from? Are you out there tricking for the young women out there? Are you participating in this free for all? Does it appeal to you? Have you benefited from it? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, since I've been divorced from my wife for a while, I've been dating and stuff. But the thing is, I don't know what it is about this sexual revolution or feminism.
Sorry, man. Was it your wife who divorced you, or did you divorce her?
Say what?
Was it your wife who divorced you, or did you divorce her?
No, she actually divorced me. She left. You know, I mean.
Okay, statistics. Sorry, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can I say? You know, but I'm a very good guy, and I don't understand what happened. But
Oh,
we
that's why
have
she
good
left. But go ahead. That's your answer right there. Go ahead.
So the thing is, I don't understand the sexual revolution thing. It seems to me, when I hear the narrative, that the women in the West and the whatever, they were apparently under tremendous stress, and I don't see that in Africa. You know, people think that women in Africa are not free. That's not true. There is no. I mean, for me, I've been to several African countries. African women are maybe the freest women on the planet. I mean, they're entrepreneurs, they do everything. I don't understand this sexual revolution thing. If the sexual revolution is about walking on Times Square with your titties out, I mean, don't titillate, titties don't titillate Africans. You see what I mean? You know, when you see on American
Yeah.
TV shows and stuff, you know, they put pasties on the titties. Who cares? In Africa, kids
Yep.
and men don't freak out when they see a woman's tits. I mean, you know, I mean, it's nothing. And I think that there is this brainwashing by the media and everything, which makes sex such a big thing when it's only a natural, how can I say, it's a natural function. Okay, it's not a focus of people here. That's all I can tell you. So
Hey,
the sexual revolution, maybe it helped people over there, you know, but it seems to me that it didn't, because gender conflict is still on. You know, people are even confused about their own gender. So it seems to me that the society there needs to look at themselves and change the narrative, and which is why I was talking about the scripts needing to be changed for the movies and everything, because people are so tuned onto media. Okay, in Africa we have people now starting to emulate some of those bad habits because of media, television, and all that kind of stuff. But it hasn't reached that point, because even the young women here, the one thing, even though they go to school and everything, they are always thinking about getting a husband. Okay, they're not trying to be baby mamas. They're always trying to get a husband. It's very important for a young African woman to get a husband. Okay, I don't know if it's a family pressure or whatever, but even though they go to school and they get good degrees and everything, they're always thinking about getting a husband and having a family, because the family unit is the basis of a strong community, of a successful society. And Black American people, please, you need to get together, men and women, and get your
what
families
about men and
going.
men, or women and women?
Can I make a quick comment, Ike, real quick?
Real quick.
Okay. No, I just want to say that I forgot this brother's name, but he is dropping gems in my opinion. So because I have a similar perspective from I'm Haitian, as I mentioned before. I'm Haitian American, and I was actually born in Haiti, and so in Haiti it's actually very similar on both points actually. So in Haiti, for example, you could be walking by a lake and you see a bunch of women naked, taking a shower and whatnot. Like nobody walks by and just like I feel like if it was in America, everybody would be staring, right? In Haiti,
Yep.
it's just like that.
Yep.
That's normal, and it's not
Yep.
women are not over sexualized in that manner, and no one views it.
Yes.
And then the second point is I was actually just having a conversation with my father about like my father and a couple cousins of mine, like about how in Haiti, the women actually, like here, we're trying to convince women to understand the family structure, et cetera, et cetera. In Haiti, they actually like that's what they're looking for, right? Like nobody's forcing that upon them. They understand the traditional family structure. They're looking for that, and not only that, all the things that you hear, for example, Kevin Samuel says, like they understand. It's almost like they understand the stuff naturally, right? They already know, hey, I need to be at this point of my life, at this age, et cetera, and they understand that. So it's quite fascinating when I compare and contrast, like being in Haiti and being in America, and seeing the big difference in terms of like the traditions and the culture. And I feel like that's the big disconnect here in America, is that And then American women a lot of times will, describe women like women in Haiti as if they're oppressed, but the women themselves will tell you like that's what they want, right? Like that's
Have you
actually
heard about Stockholm syndrome, Jonathan?
Of course.
Wait, hold on, Kaizo. You'll be able to drop all your syndromes and all your theoretical stuff once you get your turn, sir. So, our Senegalese friend, you were cut off, but gonna wrap that up with just one sentence, or were you done?
Well, I was kind of done. I just wanted to say, Jessica, you're wonderful. Mr. Oxianian, you're wonderful. I hope I meet Jessica one day because she has a sweet voice. She seems very intelligent. I love this kind of woman.
I would like to ask you something. How much are you prepared to pay on the date?
Yeah, put it on the table. What's this bride price? Like, you're out there talking. Where the money at, bro? Well, yeah, just whatever she wants, but I'm actually a little bit too old for it. I just do study, and I don't think she wants to.
But you don't do dates? You don't do dates?
Wood. What? No, but I'll take her out on a date as a friend. I'll take her out on I'll take her up in London and we'll go to Spain because I love Spain. I had a spot.
He's a divorcee, so he's probably already been washed out.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Okay.
Oh, I said
your ex-wife took all the money already. Okay, well, good. Okay. All right, fine. Let's move on. She took part of it. She took part of it and went to Paris. Okay. Okay, stop. Okay, we've had enough fun because I gotta move on.
Not serious. But Mr. Ogiaman, thank you very much. You're a wonderful man, and Godspeed with your channel, please.
Okay. Excellent.
And Happy New Year, by the way. Happy New Year to everybody. We haven't talked since last year. I was on Jessica's thing, I think last year, 2020. So Happy New Year. May God give us long life and good health. And may 2021 be better than 2020. And hopefully we'll get a control of this pandemic so that people can start living again.
Yeah.
And 100%, as someone just said in the chat, you gotta respect the hustle, right? You definitely gotta respect his hustle. I'm all about that. I promote directness in terms of selling, persuasion, so on and so forth. Put your cards on the table, okay? It's not people's job to buy, but it's your job to sell. Anyway, so now it's time for Audra. Any aspects of the sexual revolution that you have benefited from or you find personally appealing, either intellectually or not, or, go ahead and take that.
That's an interesting question, one I haven't explored this. I will just go ahead and disclaim here. It's like, I am not largely invested, or do I engage in that marketplace. I'm sort of,
you're not out there
I'm an
selling
outlier
WAP?
even more. I'm kind of, I dance outside that fire and I run towards a bunch of other fires, and I would say that personally, if I were to sort of dig deep, there's probably some systemic benefits that I've experienced. But I would also, my intuitive thought also is that that I also would find a lot of ways that it doesn't benefit me as I am. Mm-hmm. Like, I would say that, it's a mixed bag. I think in general, it's a mixed bag. I think sort of the structural component, the technological component that, I think could be argued to have allowed it as a cultural phenomenon. Mm-hmm. I think it's better that exists than doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know that it serves the, sort of the greater majority that exists, or if it's highly relevant whether that exists or not to the greater majority. I think that there is a significant segment of the population, definitely of the female population, and I would guess that there is a portion of the male population that similarly that benefits from the existence of that technology. As far as the cultural thing, I think it's probably yet to be seen whether it's net long-term, good shift or bad shift. I think it was somewhat inevitable, for better or worse, just the way people work, that something, big was going to be made of it because it was such a big shift in the logistical side of things. I'm not a huge fan of sort of the cultural, these cultural movements that are take something that is, again, essentially an addition to potential mobility across a large field, usually technology or something, and or systemic, like state structure or something that's more free, and turning it into some sort of idol, and making it I think it's where we get a lot of the problems that a lot of us are either directly discussing or dancing around today, and that's the confusion of truths, biologies, technology, systems, and identity. So yeah, like you gave me a straightforward question, and I'm turning it into theoretical, philosophical, but that's why we have fun. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much my answer. It's I'm mostly relevant to me personally, as far as my viewpoints. I have views because I tend towards a more conservative perspective on what I think works in that arena. If I were to propose what I prefer, even maybe personally, hypothetically, but seems more better. More. I think it has removed a lot of the romance and the courting, and honestly, I think that has great value. Across the board, I do think it has caused a lot of problems. So it's
that is very interesting, and thank you very much, Audra, for joining us. And to a couple of points here, that I would like to mention, and that is one thing, and it's something I would like to talk about later on in my channel, which is this: there's a weird dichotomy in the West where there's this kind of sexual liberation, but heavy sexual repression at the same time. And I think it has to do with a fear of nature again, because that whole thing of, as our friend said, titties hanging out, or there's certain other aspects in which it manifests itself. And I will talk about this at some point. Okay. I'm just trying to find a way to broach the issue. Okay. There are many ways in which, the African, if you will, to take that example, culture, just a lot of that kind of stuff is just normal. Where it's like, okay, is this and is that, okay, whatever, this one's over there, great, normal, right? Over here in the West, you find two things going on simultaneously, where it's like, oh my God, such a taboo, right? But then on the other hand, it's, free for all this kind of stuff, and it seems to me like it's a very weird disease. I think it has to do, again, so far anyways, and I'll be proposing that hypothesis, with a kind of a fear of nature, a lack of understanding of nature, a lack of acceptance of nature. Now, Mr. Misogynoir, any aspect of the sexual revolution that you have benefited from, or you find particularly appealing, or you're just out there living your asexual simp lifestyle? Go ahead.
Okay, you had to go down there, right? Okay, fair enough. Shots taken. Okay, so yeah, okay, I'm a simp. Anyways, so this is a good question for me because there's two parts, right? So you accuse me of being extrinsically motivated, but in reality, right, I'm actually an intrinsically motivated guy, right? I actually like the chaos, right? Let's be honest, the chaos, the dissent, the free, cheaper web. Personally, I prefer this, right? In terms of me,
wait, did you say you like free, cheap WAP?
Yes, I'll explain what I mean, right? Let me explain what I mean, because right, the reason why I actually do like how the SMV has been deregulated and is no longer centralized like it used to be due to culture and shaming tactics is I'm an average guy, right? I will admit that I'm a 5/6. I'm that average at best kind of woman, right? In terms of facial whatever body, it depends on the day, whatever, right? The point is I'm average. Now, what that means is I've managed to get myself 8s, 9s, and on one occasion a 10, because I have been able to manipulate the system by understanding how it works, understanding what people want generally, and being able to get it. Maybe it's because I got more money, maybe because I got more style, maybe because I'm not so simpish, maybe because people think I am a simp. Whatever it is, I've found a way to kind of get what I want without actually having to so-called deserve it, as most people say. So as an individual, I love it. However, as a person that exists in a collective consciousness, I gotta admit, it's made a lot of people unhappy. I'm not one of them. I'm happy, I'm very happy, but it's made a lot of people unhappy. So the problem here is that it's what Audra was talking about. Actually, it's like, for example, what you have in a system is you have a lot of status quo. People like Jessica, people like Ike, people like the uncle over there. You guys kind of are part of that kind. Okay, maybe not Ike so much, but the rest of you guys are part of that bell curve, right in the middle, like within the 70% of people, whereby you kind of had this, maybe you grew up in a certain way, you kind of had expectations from both sides, things what of how relationships should be, etc. So you guys kind of fit the model, right? However, the issue here is obviously what's happening now is you got the people from the outliers on either direction, left or right, who aren't happy with the system. And they're trying to topple the system. And obviously they got themselves in powerful positions to write the narratives, to rewrite the stories. I mean, Uncle actually talked about a very interesting thing, how like the movies basically kind of directed our expectations. And now, you got a lot of people with certain narratives writing the movie scripts. Now, it's not a solution because we're never going to get like a critical mass of people going into writing and, being given chances to speak about certain narratives. Again, certain alphabet communities get certain scripts written and, they get priorities, etc. So that's never going to happen, right? It's not a solution. It's a fantasy. The only kind of solution has to be something easy, right? When you want to go to the shops, right? Do you say you're going to take a plane to go get something? No, you're going to take a car or you're going to walk. It's a simple line that you're going to follow. You ain't going to go do some. So anyway, I'm going off topic. The point here is, as an individual, I've definitely benefited and I love it. But as a person that exists within a culture, I would say that a lot of people, especially the people in the bell curve, are not happy. But the reason they're not happy is because you guys have been ignoring all these outliers for so long. Like Uncle talked about how Africa is so great. The reason I mentioned FGM is because those problems do exist. I never said that it only exists there or it's like the biggest problem. I just mentioned that there are enough people that experience things that they don't like, that they then have collectivized and then formulated these groups to fight back. And that's why we're in the position that we're in. What's happened is the outliers finally got their power and they toppled the system. Now the system is working towards what they want. And the rest of you people in the bell curve are unhappy. People like me are happy, but I understand your pain.
Wow. That's a very, very cogent, coherent, concise exposition of your point, and I have nothing to disagree with, as a matter of fact, Mr. Misogynoir, which is okay. Well, I like the free, cheap, and but I get the fact that all these other people are happy and unhappy, and okay, well, it's about the fact that the outliers have been ignored and so on and so forth. And you correctly removed me from the middle of the bell curve because you know that. You know how I operate, right? I'm an artist. I'm a free thinker. I'm a philosopher type. I'm not into any particular straitjacket. But I find it rather weird that certain people want to go assailing the norm because they're not part of it. For me, it's kind of crazy. It's like my own hierarchy depends on me being outside the norm. That's how I get my own jollies, and that's how I get a position in the hierarchy spot. Now, Jessica X, and by the way, I hope you've had a good time and you've enjoyed this and this was worthwhile for you. Correct or no?
Correct. It's been a good show.
Okay, so now with regards to the question, any aspects, okay, of the sexual revolution, any aspect of the Sex and the City lifestyle that you find appealing or personally benefited from or understand or can commiserate with in any way?
I suppose you could say women have been liberated sexually, and not only the ability to sleep around, because not every woman is going to embrace that. And even you touched on it before, in a world that's so sexually liberated, it's funny how people can be. You see the opposite, so you see a lot of people who are sexually repressive. You see that too. But I'd say for a woman, a benefit other than getting to sleep around is being able to enjoy your sexuality. So at one point, it would have been frowned upon for a woman to even want to enjoy sex. It's not something that you spoke about, right? But now women can feel open with their partner to say, I like this, I like that, and they can have more control over their sexual satisfaction.
So that aspect of the aesthetic pleasures, if you will, associated with sexuality, and perhaps not that it has been the case in the past that people were not allowed to enjoy it, but to the degree to which now it's more acceptable to enjoy it, that yes, go ahead, have that nice roast, the leg of lamb with a nice wine and all that stuff. Yeah, enjoy it all, right?
Consume to your heart's content. Yeah.
Consume tea. Now, this has been very. I think it's been a very productive conversation. I definitely appreciate you coming out here and giving us your time. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, okay? And I've learned a lot about your positions and as to the reasons why you are here. You came in from in an impulsive way, similar to how I came in here. However, you do want to work from an individual perspective to try to change minds out there, to try to show people, at least those whom are A, capable, and B, willing to accept the message that here is, there is someone else out here, or there is a way out here for us to have support, if you will, right? So that we're not, we don't feel completely outside there, and we don't make certain kinds of mistakes because of what is generally out there in the media and also pushed by other organs of influence, as I tend to call them. Now, everyone, again, subscribe, bell button all, and those of you whom are not familiar with Jessica X, you guys need to go to Jessica's channel and also like and subscribe, like her videos, share her streams, hit the bell button and hit all as well. Okay. Do you have any last words, Jessica?
I want to say thank you for having me, Ike. It has been an interesting conversation. The questions, because I've done, been to a few other places, and the questions here have been different. So that's new. It keeps it refreshing. It keeps it interesting. So yeah, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed today.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's a great ad. I'm gonna clip that part out there. I'm gonna be like, hey, Jessica X said that over here we keep things refreshing and we keep them new. So thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, we stream over here on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So I'll be here tomorrow again, and we'll be talking about some subject that has to do with being better and doing better. Okay, we're gonna stay more on the persuasion and sales side, get some practical kind of information out there about how to get things done, how to get that bag, how to improve your skills, so on and so forth. And again, we treat everything on a granular level, simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive. I'm not just gonna give you some BS. I don't do BS over here, ladies and gentlemen. So let me get the usual vote for those of whom who know what I mean. What song do we want to go out with? Okay. And by the way, I'm also a musician. I play my songs over here, at least 2 or 3 of them. And I will ask, number 1 for Battle Within. Number 2, let me get a 2 in the chat if you want to hear Run. Those are the only 2 options we have today, okay? Number 1 is Battle Within, and then number 2 is Run. And we have Snuggles already trolling out there with his 3, 2, 1 stuff. But if you want to hear Battle Within, let's get a 1 in the chat. If you want to hear Run, let's get a 2 in the chat. And I'm tallying 1, 2. Okay, it's a tie still. It's a tie between Battle Within and oh my God, it's still a tie. Oh, Bob, Run is winning. Oh, now it's a tie. Oh, now Battle Within. Oh my God, it seems like Battle Within has it. Oh my God, all the people coming out for the Battle Within. Run is trying to catch up. Battle Within is chasing it. Oh my God, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Oh, Jonathan, this is not Chicago. You cannot vote often. You can only vote once. Oh my God, somebody put 3. It seems like Jonathan is voting multiple times and multiple votes. Okay, can't do that. You cannot deceive. It seems like it is Run, but as a matter of fact, I'm going to play both of them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play both of them, both Run and Battle Within. So let's go. And perhaps I see we have somebody, Chaos Man and Jessica. Yeah, Jessica, if you don't mind staying behind for a little debriefing afterwards, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out with the songs that we're requested if I can make this happen without making a total fool of myself here in the StreamYards. This is interesting. I'm not seeming to find my options. Where are my options? Peace out.
On the shore, relentless in the war, the legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls, the spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest, the cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain. The face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Conditions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling out your tatas and your sons, we can't forget it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wicked, there is beauty to behold. We are fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the bone. The sweat of the weary brings us close to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. Be aligned, it's divine. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, they come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters.